the whole concept behind action with a light hand. The reason it always is a good option is if the population won't punish you for it by denying your equity. So the way you deny equity is by putting in the next bet.
She should have 3-bet nines the whole time of all the episodes of Inside the Mind of a Pro. She didn't 4-bet once,
which is a good reason to 3-bet her face off, right? If you're not gonna get 4-bet enough, then you're always gonna see the flop, and that doesn't just mean you're gonna get a chance to outdraw whatever hand she has, because clearly with Ace-7 suited, we're behind most of her opens, especially if we think that she's opening a little tighter because it's a big spot, which is a safe assumption for most of the population, right? All right, so if I 3-bet you light, and I know that you won't 4-bet me enough, both for value or as bluffs, then I'm always going to get to see the flop in position. I'm going to get a chance to draw, to not only outdraw you, but people don't understand this about Hold'em, or about any poker, but especially Hold'em. Omaha's a little different because of the way equity works. Omaha's equity driven, Hold'em is frequency driven. So I'm also drawing for a chance for the board to scare you off your hand without me improving to beat you. And I'm going to be in position with an uncapped range and all these middling hands, 7s, 8s, and 9s. I would like to flat jacks here more than I would like to flat 9s. I actually think trapping with the jacks is fine. Whereas like the 9, because the jacks can hold up to more aggression across multiple streets than the 9s can. When the 9s don't flop a set, they're in a lot of trouble across multiple streets. And when the 9s do flop a set, that card actually interacts with his bluffs pre-flop. You flop a set of 9s, and he's bluffing you with like 10 queen suited or even like king 10 off or something like that. These are the type of spots where you're never going to win a big pot when he makes a bad top pair with his pre-flop bluffs, but you can lose a huge pot when he makes a straight. If that makes any sense.
Makes total sense. But the thing is, like, at what frequency you're 4-betting like 8s, 9s, 7s, because now you're getting into territory like I mean, are we doing it for value? But like
it is a combination of value and
we start like going gung ho with these hands. I think like, I mean,
it's not going. We don't need to 4-bet big.
No. The 4-bet sizing is not going to be big. Maybe 2.2x, 2.3.
A little bigger because we're out of position, but like 3x.
3x. But the thing is 3x is a big sizing for a 4-bet.
If he had gone 6 blinds for sure, but he didn't. He went like 4 point something, maybe 5 blinds.
So what are you doing at 12?
If he went 4, yeah, I think 12 is enough. If he went 5, maybe 13.
12 is big for a 4-bet. I mean, they're deep, but not that deep. They're sub 50 bigs. She's 49, he's 47 bigs.
Right. So a pretty good rule of thumb on any sort of active aggression when you're putting in 3-bets and 4-bets like that is the absolute maximum of the effective stack you can put in and fold is essentially like a third, but you really don't want to go more than a quarter of the effective stacks. So if they're like 50 effective, like 12 to 13 is reasonable. Like you put in a total of 12 to 13. Now you can still have folds. The idea is, this is like something people fuck up all the time when they have value. They use some size where you can never have bluffs here because you can't have folds. You're just priced in. In those cases, in theory, you should have no non-island size. You should just jam. I'm not saying there aren't spots to do it exploitively, but let me be very clear. If I'm against somebody normal, I'm not going to 4-bet 9s here. Okay. First of all, if I'm against him, I would have used a bigger size with 9s pre-flop with probably all my opens, just because I know that I have this try hard on my left who's just, and that's a term I like to use, not anything specific to him. Somebody who's just going out of their way to try to outplay people and try to get involved is a try hard, right? If I have a try hard on my left in a spot that's important, one thing you got to realize is that if this guy does what he tends to do, it actually hurts both of us more than it hurts the table, right? Because while we're playing this big pot for no reason that he's causing, right, that his actions are causing, if one of us loses this big pot, like if one of us busts, the whole table, the whole field actually is benefiting, right? Because we're 3 tables, 4 tables of the main.
That's right.
All right. So I know his tendency is bad for both of us, and I have 2 choices. Choice 1 is just to practice avoidance, which actually that's the whole point of his style. His style is, if you want to play pots, you're going to have to ride the variance dragon with me. or you can just stay out of my way and let me run the table, right? Well, if you want to play for the maximum, if you're a professional player, if you want to play poker correctly, option B is not on the table. Like if you have a guy at your table that you just know is going to blow up spots, and so your idea is, I'm going to wait for the stone cold nuts and trap him. First of all, he's not a dumb guy. He's going to know that people are going to have stronger hands on average, right? And second of all, like, so he can just fold when you actually find the hand that you want to play for all the chips. Second of all, the whole time that you're sitting there folding and practicing avoidance, you're letting this guy snowball up a chip lead. You're going to have to, if you want to win the tournament or if you want to get a high placement, you're going to have to like deal with him eventually. So if practicing avoidance is not on the table, right, then you actually have to, step one is I'm going to actually make it a little more expensive for him to try hard. So I'm going to use a little bit bigger opens with all my opens, and I am going to open tighter. My avoidance is going to be, I'm not going to open the hands that I'm raised folding anyway. So I'm not going to open Jack 10-0 here when I know this guy's on my left, right? I'm not going to open, probably I'm not even going to open like ace-6 suited. I'll open the ace-4, ace-5 suited, but I'm not going to open ace-6 suited because I'm going to have to deal with this guy, right? So by not having these hands that you have to fold to his aggro in to start with, you're shitting on his action because he doesn't have all these immediate folds that he usually gets as part of the benefit of his play, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm going to open a little bigger with the nines in this case, right? And now if I'm 3-bet, I'm probably not going to 4-bet, right? Because you have to have some cognitive continuity here, continuity. If the reason I did this was to prevent some of the lighter 3-bets because I made it more expensive. Then when he does 3-bet, I have to assume it worked, right? Which means I'm facing a stronger range. Now I'm not going to 4-bet. But when I opened normally and now he 3-bets, I fully expected to get 3-bet a lot, right? And nines are way ahead of his range. They're also near the top of my opening range, like the 6th best hand I can have, right? So when I 4-bet, yes, it is for value because what his options are, if he has all these wide, like you automatically, when people are always afraid of the worst case scenario, which is what if he has me beat right now, right? The math is just that he doesn't.
I mean, you can, but she can 4-bet. She can 4-bet. I mean, his value are continuing and his bluffs are folding. Pretty simple. She makes her life easier, but she's not built like that. You don't understand. Plus 4-betting, she's going.
I do understand she's not built like that, and he did too.
Second of all, when you go into deep waters with a great white shark like Mizrahi, he's comfortable. She's uncomfortable. She's not willing to, like I said, play for stacks because SPR is going to be shallow right now when she 4-bets. And you said to go to 12 bigs, and he calls. Now it's 24 bigs in the middle, and they have like 30 something bigs left. It's like
what's
SPR
his calling range though?
It's going to be condensed. It's going to be very condensed. When she 4-bets, when she goes into 4-bet territory, that she doesn't have that many bluffs. She's not going to show up there with ace-3 suited, ace-5 suited. Her range is going to be condensed. His is going to be even more condensed. He's got an advantage because he's in position. She's out of position. So, I mean, she's going to have I don't see – he's not going to think that she has ever nines in that spot when she 4-bets. It's going to be like maybe a couple bluffs and like kings, aces, queens. That's about it.
So like my argument is that we don't need to bluff at all. We should just go linear for value and denial. And then like if you want to trap here, trap the better hands like aces. Also aces means that like there's some argument for not trapping aces because he has less light 3-bets. When you have aces, he has value more often. We want to get more money in. But I'm sorry, trap kings then or whatever that are going to have an easy time realizing like showdown value across multiple streets. When we 4-bet, if we have the nines here, it's one of the beautiful things is that when it comes ace high, which is where most of his light peels, when he 3-bets us light and then calls us light, most of those hands contain an ace. And the ability to just put no more money in the pot when an ace comes is super valuable, right? She could maybe stab small, like she could probably do something as simple as like bet 10% pot on an ace high flop where she has a draw to drill a set. If he continues, he's not going to raise her with a bad ace. Let's say, for instance, he had called a 4-bet here.
By
and
the
it
way,
comes like,
David, we've been live, but we went on not a tangent. We went.
oh yeah, yeah, sure, no problem.
Let's leave this to the. Let's leave it to the actual hand when we discuss it.
Oh
But
yeah, no problem.
we're live. We
Okay.
got the Grinch with us here today. He doesn't need any introduction. The guy is known on the circuit, a legitimate grinder. What's up, buddy? How you doing today?
Good. How are you, Carl?
Good, good. Let's dive into the question. We got a couple people watching us live.
What's up,
We
everybody?
got Sid is gonna join us later. We got a hand history. We got a list of questions. We got an interesting pod today with the most interesting grinder on the circuit.
I don't know
Let's
if I go that far, but
no, I mean you're known in the community for sure. Um, I want to ask later at the Grinch hat. The first time I saw you, it was Hard Rock back in the heyday in Tampa when they used to use the ballroom. This is when I'm like, who is this guy? You're wearing the hat, and people recognize you. I didn't recognize you at the time, but people in Tampa like knew who you were. Yee was giving you importance. I'm like, who is this guy? So tell me a little bit. Where did the Grinch hat come? Oh, wifey is here. Is this wifey? You can introduce her if you want on the screen.
oh, that's wifey, but she's leaving. Are you
Okay.
riding with everything? Okay, 1 second. My son's also. They're
Yeah,
both
yeah, no problem, no
getting out of
problem.
here. Anyway,
The Grinch hat.
2017. Where is the hat?
No,
I
like
think.
what prompted the hat? Where did that come from?
Okay, so 2017, 2018, I was playing on Global Poker. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
And they had these avatars. You can, like all the sites, you have like these cartoon avatars.
Yeah.
They had a special, and they would have occasionally like these promotions to get custom avatars. And around Christmas, I think it was 2017, there was a promotion where one of the things you could do is one of the avatars you get was this Grinch avatar.
Uh-huh.
And what you had to do was ridiculous for it. It was like you had to like play 50 hands of play money PLO, of gold coin PLO on Global Poker.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what you had to do. I wanted this Grinch avatar. I never really cared about the other ones, so I played the 50 hands and got it. And that was Chris. And I played as the Grinch or whatever. And then I was streaming Global Poker some around that time too. But then they would do like contests that would like say like what's your favorite avatar to use, and I always put Heart My Grinch or whatever.
Man, you started streaming before anybody was streaming. 2017. That's like the beginning of streaming. It wasn't like mainstream yet.
Yeah, so like back then, I don't want to take credit. I don't want to say I was the first because shout out to Brian Frenzel, Brian Winter now. The Golden Blazer was, I think, the first person streaming on Global. But yeah, I was streaming on Global, and I used that Grinch avatar, and I used like a Grinch theme on the background, and people like I became known as the Global Grinch, so to speak. And I saw that hat on Amazon, and I ordered it as a joke and wore it to Cherokee for one of the circuit stops. And I got a bunch of random compliments on the hat. And then I also had like 3 or 4 people over the course of the weekend came up to me and say, "Hey, are you that Global Grinch guy from online streaming?" And I was like, wow, people recognize me. And we probably get into this later, but like a lot of the reason that a lot of people get into poker is ego and shit like that. And I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but I definitely was guilty of that for the longest time, even up till recently. Like a large portion of the reason people get into poker, especially tournament poker, comes from seeking peer validation subconsciously, whatever your reasons you think you're in it for. A lot of us that get into this life are seeking peer validation. And so people recognizing me felt good, and it became a shtick, and I wore the hat for a long time. I still have the hat, still wear it for mains.
How many followers did you have streaming? Like you had a big following, or 100 people, 50 people?
At peak back then, it's funny because I stream for fun every now and then when I'm home now, and there might be 3 people watching at peak. But back then, I think the most I ever had at a time was 80 to 100 watchers. I maybe had like 700 followers, not that many. I did way less of the promotions and the gimmicks and stuff like that, and I would just sit and talk strategy the whole time, which isn't what people want when they're watching a streamer, or at least back then it wasn't. People were actually wanting to be entertained.
There's always a mix. It's always a mix. There's always the nerds that want to hear strategy, and some people watch for entertainment. That's the same why I watch podcasts or or training videos. Sometimes I watch for entertainment. Like I sent somebody a message a couple of days ago. Marley Cordero, she hasn't posted any videos in a while, and she used to post on the regular.
Yeah.
But I sent that person a video of her. Basically, the whole video, she's saying how rusty she was, and she played the Irish Open, the ladies Irish Open, and the whole video was saying like, "Oh, I'm rusty," but she was running like God, and she didn't mention that fact. She was like flopping sets, turning quads, but the whole time she's like, "I'm rusty, I'm rusty." She made final table. She wasn't chip leading. But the whole point of the story is that person said, "Oh, why the hell would you watch this content? Like, why would you watch Marley?" Sometimes I'm just sitting here bored. I see a video and I haven't watched her stuff in a while, and I just watch the video. Sometimes it's for entertainment, and sometimes I'm trying to learn something. It depends on the mood. So people watch for both. Talking about entertainment, who's taken like their content to another level as far as comedy? Ryan DePaulo. His last video, I don't know if somebody's writing. I was talking with my girlfriend a couple of days ago. If somebody's writing the material for him, because the way everything flows on his pod, I mean, he's not even like stuttering, and he's talking about different subjects, but like, I don't know if he's reading off a screen or somebody's writing. He's using the same style, but it's really witty and very smart. I don't know if he has like somebody writing material or he's coming up with that stuff on his own. I don't know if you watched his last pod, but it was.
I haven't. When I watch poker content now, it's mostly to stay current on what other people are watching and what might be presented to me at the tables this week. We mentioned this a little bit off screen or off live, I guess, but I don't know if you want to go into that now.
We can go into that because you mentioned something really cool that I think about it, but I've never heard anybody verbalize it. You said people would watch a pod or any content, and they would use that, whatever they learned that day, for like 2-3 times for the next like 2-3 tournaments, and then they forget about it.
They forget it, or it's not the newest thing that they saw, so they're using other things. Yeah, like I watch the more technical oriented content, and I try to like more important than watching the whole video. Like I'll make sure I see the shorts from like Hungry Horse and things like that.
What do you think about Hungry Horse? Mentioning Hungry Horse,
I think that guy's very sharp, very, very good. And I think that from a recreational standpoint of the content that's available, if you're trying to watch, and he's cash game oriented, but the stuff applies to tournaments too. I think that the way he presents things is very logical and easy to duplicate or whatever, that thought process, if you drill that into your head. And I think it works. And everybody will say like, well, the guy his core thing often boils down to, what would I do if I had the opposite? When I have value, what would I have to bet if I was bluffing to make him fold the value targets for my hand?
Yeah, he mentions that a lot. Yeah, I see that.
Size your value below that. But when you have a bluff, what is the amount that I could get these target hands to call? Well, size bigger than that. And that seems so exploitable, but the thing is, they have to actually pull the trigger to exploit you in game, and they don't know your strategy. It's not like a solver, where the solver, when it solves against itself, it knows the other side's strategy exactly, so it knows for sure, yeah, I can get away with this. They don't know you're doing that. So that guy presents something that's very easy to implement. It doesn't involve reading any charts or anything like that. It just involves thinking about, what hand do I have? What hands am I targeting in their range? Is a very good concept to have.
But some of his stuff I don't agree with. I think he's sharp, yes, 100%. His game is mostly exploitative. He doesn't even look at his solver, and I think it works in real time. But a lot of the times, like a lot of his videos, like he would bring a pro and an amateur, and he would give him like the same scenario, and he
Yeah, I've
showed.
seen those. Those are very gimmicky, I think, and are more for entertainment.
Agree, and he shows like how many big blinds the pro is winning and how many big blinds the amateur is winning, and he'll be like, "Oh, see how the amateur is like exploiting more." But this is like a one case scenario that won't happen twice. If you get another pro and another amateur, the result might be completely skewed. That and some of his stuff, like I don't know if he plays live. A lot of the times he'll be like, okay, what if we think that villain has top pair? How much should we bet to make villain fold top pair? Like live where we play in low stakes, good luck making villain fold top pair. Like you have to put a lot of pressure to make somebody fold top pair. People are folding second and third pair. Good luck making somebody fold top pair. Like he's attacking a strong range basically when, especially
Yeah. So I think that the key is like what I was saying there before is like targeting certain portions of your opponent's range plays right into what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in the business of asking my opponents to fold top pair, just like you just mentioned. However, when we get them, when the advice of don't bluff calling stations on the surface is a very good piece of advice if you just need soundbite advice to give people. However, it's terrible advice if you want to make the most amount of money because or make the most amount of chips in tournaments. It's and I should say this because like we shouldn't be trying to do this late in the tournament, so to speak, because it's too risky. Early in the tournament, and we might get into this on later, but the chips just aren't worth that much anyway. Like your tournament life's not worth that much early. Um, Getting calling stations to call fold across 3 streets is one of the most profitable ways to make chip there is. There used to be a saying, I haven't heard it in a long time, but a long time ago, someone told me choose one barrel or three, never two. In other words, like if you bluff the flop and they call, you have to decide, am I going to bluff turn then bluff river? And you're trying to. Now, one thing he does do a good job of that the guy we're talking about, Mark Goon, I think is his name, is he talks about like what we're trying to do is keep the weak hands in. We don't want them to fold the weak hands to this turn bluff.
Always. We always want to fold, make them fold better than what we have.
Yes, but if you're gonna bluff big on the river, you actually don't want them to fold the weak hands along the way. You want them to call, you want them to call their second and third pair and their ace highs on the flop, right? Mm-hmm. And now when we bluff turn, we're going to lose the ace highs and some of the third pairs, right? But we want them to get to the river. Yes, they still have their top pairs, but we're not going to ask them to fold the top pair. Correct. We want them to get to the river still with that second pair and with some. This is one of the reasons why, like, when people talk about blockers and unblockers, like, if there's a flush draw available on the board and we don't have one of those suits, let's say we just have like a gut shot, right? But we don't have one of those suits. Well, now all the flush draws are going to call flop and going to call turn if they don't raise at some point, which if they raise, we just fold our bluffs anyway, right? But if they call turn, call flop, call turn, now we get to the river, all these missed flush draws are auto folds to our river bluff. And so by stringing those along, like basically you need to always keep in mind what targets are, like, what am I trying to make fold? Because if the answer is not top pair better,
the give ups that are better than our hand right now. Like I look at my hand, like I have 9 high, and his give up might be like jack high. And if I check, it goes to showdown. He shows down jack high, and he beats me.
Exactly, and we don't need to shove to make those fold. We can just like do some.
No, it doesn't take.
We can bet 30% pot on the river to make those fold.
Any bet on the river is going to make that hand fold. They go in the tank. You see them go in the tank blank. They don't know what to do because they miss the draw and they fold. But
sometimes they spaz jam, that is one benefit to you jamming instead of. It's not that the jam's going to get top pair to fold. It's just that it takes away the option to rebluff. I don't think that is worth the rub. I don't think it's worth the extra risk. If the guy finds a rebluff, fine, whatever is my attitude toward that. I don't need to shove to take that option away from him in most cases, just because he probably wasn't going to find it anyway, right? And
no, they don't find, amateurs don't find it. Advanced players might find the bluff. I mean, it'll be a worse candidate to bluff with a flush draw because you're blocking your opponent from having that. It depends.
Yeah, exactly.
It depends on what flush draw you had, if it's a high card, low card. But let's move on to the questions. See how I said in the beginning of the episode that we might not even touch like 30% of the questions we have set up.
It's all good. It's all good.
But let's go to the beginnings of the Grinch. What got you obsessed with poker? I don't know if I can use the word obsessed, but you know, us,
you have to become obsessed.
Anybody with over $1 million on Hand 'em Up is obsessed with poker. Not in a bad, doesn't have to have a negative connotation, but
there's two things that every single person who has been in this game for a long time who stuck around, especially in tournaments. There's two things that I think we all have in common. And before I get to the obsession part, I'll just tell you the first thing. The first thing is every one of us, whether we know it or remember it or not, had to have ran white hot when we first started. And I say that I would just bet there's very few exceptions to that. And here's the logic. When you get good at this game, you can play well for session after session and get your brains beat in by people who can't spell GTO or ICM for months on end, right? You can play well and it's brutal, right? Like the things you go through. Imagine if you ran bad when you also were playing bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
You would say, fuck this game. You'd be on the blackjack or baccarat or something else. Like, you wouldn't be playing poker. If you would be out.
By the way, just to mention, we have Sid in the background. Sid, I'll bring you on camera in a little bit. We're just warming up, but stay.
What's up, Sid?
Here, actually, we can bring him in. Stand by.
Hey, David. How are you doing?
Hey, what's up, man? How are you doing?
Pretty good. Nice to see you, Carl. Nice to see you, David.
Sid,
what's up, buddy? Over there?
Sid, can you do one thing for me, please? You have that light hitting the camera. Can you turn the camera a little bit sideways so the light doesn't hit the camera? You can. Yeah, much better. Thank you. Thanks.
All right. I just wrapped up an office meeting. It's 9 p.m. here, David.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, prime time.
The last time Sid and I talked, I was driving to Florida. I think I was driving to Florida. It was funny. Yeah. He was like, it's like 6 a.m. his time or something like that. And I'm like, you know what's crazy? I was like, can you see the moon? And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, me too. I was like, it's crazy. We're on opposite sides of the world looking at the same object. It's pretty wild when you think about
it. Sid was deep in the streets here in the tournament scene, but he had to go back to India for something that happened with his parents. But yeah, he definitely, he told me, he used to tell me that he talked with you all the time about strategy and stuff.
You know how me and him met?
Okay, I'll start. I'll start. Let me start with this car.
Send it.
Okay. So I knew David, right? Because if on the WSOP circuit event, he visited Tampa and he won that main event, right? So I always knew about him. I initially met him in Vegas in the Venetian. I think it was probably a $600 tournament. And you know how he is at the table, right? Like he likes talking and everything. And then he was talking.
I don't have that much experience. I have one experience with him in that series we were talking about earlier.
I was thinking before we started this, I think I've only played with you once.
Twice, one time.
Maybe twice.
You punted, but this is like after your win, you're like, riding high after the 888 to win. We'll talk about it. I pulled up your Hand 'em Up, the poker players credit system. But yeah, you were riding high on that win, and I remember, I mean, it was like a small buy-in. You just bet, and the guy called off with like second pair or something. But anyway, yeah, go ahead, Sid. So you met him when you met him in Vegas. Did you have history with him? Like you guys talked?
I was chip leading at the table, and
he was wrecking me.
And he comes and then he just starts talking trash to me, and at that time we never started, we never knew, like he never demeaned me, but he said something like something crazy about my t-shirt color. Like I remember I was wearing something like a green or something.
He had a really nice shirt on. He had a really high-end nice button-up silk shirt.
Right. And
he was, let me say one thing real quick. I'll let you finish the story.
Sure.
I get moved to his table and he has chips, right? And
Sid always has chips. Sid never plays a 20 big blind stack.
but he's on my left, 2 to my left, and he's 3-betting all like every open.
Yeah.
And we're in like a tournament in Vegas. You can expect that sometimes, but not in this tournament. It was a table full of recreationals. Like, this is the only guy that's a problem at this table. And I'm like, this guy's try-harding. I was like, I need to get him to put his ego on the table too. I start talking trash to him. I'm like, if I'm gonna have to deal with him, I need him to be out of line, like way out of line, like versus me, so that like
which he is, he thrives in the uncomfortable. And I'm gonna ask you about the uncomfortable.
He did not put his ego on the table. I'm gonna shut up, but it didn't work. Right? He kept barking me, and I don't remember. Did I bust you because I got lucky? I think I busted you, but I immediately when he busted, I was like, hey, all that was just gamesmanship. You played really fucking well. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, and we became fast friends after that.
And let's talk why he played well.
To a guy that's being in trouble at my table. Like, I'm just trying to get his ego on the table. I
always respect it. Like, when it's done properly, us players, we respect it. When we see somebody getting out of line, but like not recklessly, not the whale that's like calling 3 bets, calling 4 bets, just going to post flop with any 2 card. No, like it's not reckless. It's calculated. And they click it back on the flop. They put you in spots. They're 3-betting. They're 4-bet. And I'm not saying like just to look cool. I'm just saying they're playing the game at its best. Like, when you see somebody that
he was a problem.
Flatting 3, trying to make hands, just the ABC poker. They don't put chips in the pot unless they have the nuts. Like the standard. When you play low limits, that's the poker you see. There's no 3 bets at the table. You're opening wide under the gun because nobody's 3-betting at the table. Mm-hmm. Nobody's putting you in spots. Like, you get put in spot. You play with somebody for 8 hours, they put you in one spot and they will have it. It's never they're showing you. It's never a bluff. But anyway, so continue the story, Sid. So Vegas, deep in the trenches.
I was sitting for maybe some other tournament. I don't know. I was just sitting in the on the cafeteria side in the Venetian, and he comes up to me and he says, do you mind if I can sit here? I said, sure. He said, I'm David Moses. And I said, I know who you are. And then we became like, he did apologize. He said, if I said anything mean, I do apologize. And from there, we became like really good friends. Like, I discussed, and I owe him, like, I literally owe David a lot to whatever little bit of success or improved my game, because David is like, he told me few things.
When you say improved, what did you learn from David? Like, where was your game and what aspect did you improve?
Sure. So like a few things at the hands that I used to get married with. I mean, I saw him, like, he used to stream on Twitch. I'm not sure how much he streams now, but like, I used to get married with, let's say, kings or something like pre-flop, and watching him, like, his reasoning, the way that he thinks about other person. And then from there, I also sort of adapted my game. It became more aggressive. And then, how to basically, let's say, on the ICM side, right? Like, how he can basically grind with like something, even let's say 3 bigs, 4 bigs, like in the spots that mostly people, just shove, how you can save up certain, there were like many things. Like, it would be too hard to actually pick up one thing from what I've learned from it, because it's also about, and then I also, like, the biggest thing, what I do now is to go under, like, under the skin of other players. I've learned a little bit from him, but
I've never seen you do much talking, but you let your game get under people's skin by being aggressive, and like at showdown, you might get in their head. But I've never seen you use like speech play. I can see him using speech play.
The last time that we played card was back in 2022, right? It's been 4 years now, right?
Yeah.
So from that, I've also added on certain few things, maybe, but at the same time, I'm never trying to demean anyone, but just trying to, make sure that
it's part of poker. That's what poker is. It's a psychological game. If you get in, you can get in somebody's head and make them play suboptimal of what they're normally playing because they're comfortable. You make them uncomfortable. Like what he's trying to say. He made a comment about your shirt. Making a comment about somebody's appearance, get in their head right away, especially if
he had a really nice
negative, but not completely negative. One comment about their look, like, oh, did you like gain weight a little bit or anything that they're off their game.
I think the comment I made about his shirt was like a backhanded compliment. Like the shirt was really nice and expensive, and I said something like along the lines of like I implied that he was like a trust fund kid or something like that.
Yeah,
There
something
you
like
go. Now you got him in his head thinking, and he's off his game right away. Yeah.
Which is like if you're not a trust fund kid, which he's not, like, you know, like, and if you're not a trust fund kid, and like you're implying that the only reason you're playing this game, is like you're insulting the guy's money, right? Now, like you're like,
yeah.
And so now you're trying to get his ego to put on the table. I think that the number one thing, if I had to name one thing that Sid learned maybe from me or partly from me, is the whole getting out of the zone of being afraid to be bluffed. He used to be notorious, and not just you, a lot of people, just they're so afraid of being bluffed that they'll take hands that are bluff catchers and they'll turn them into bluffs themselves. In other words, they'll bet themselves with a hand that can't be called by worse in order to prevent facing a scary bet, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's spot on. That's spot on. What David's saying. Yeah.
Quit doing that. Like that. That's probably some of the best advice you give any new player. Quit turning bluff catchers into bluffs, and you'd be amazed. Like, because one thing is like you'll just quit giving them money when they have you coolered. Like you just do the work for them. You don't even have to ask for the money. You just put it in. And then two is like when they have the bluffs, you actually want them to bluff you. Like you want them
See, most amateurs don't want to be put in that spot. They rather do the betting than face bets because they don't want to be put in that uncomfortable situation. And
right, and some hands can only be make money by catching.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
And so like you have to look at it in the sense of, so a lot of people think that their job is to be right this time, right? Like it's my job to know if this really good hand I have is beat and find the fold. No, especially not in tournaments. In cash games, maybe like there's an argument both ways. In cash games, you're just going to get to play the same situation over and over, and all hands are created pretty much equal. But in a tournament, like early in the tournament, especially when, again, tournament life is overrated. When you have one of these really good hands, my attitude is like, if I'm beat, this guy's getting all the chips. So in order to make up, or he's getting a bunch of chips, like maybe not all of them, but if this hand's beat, it's going to be beat expensively, so to speak. Like when we have a set, we're not trying to advocate for like folding bottom set, hero folding bottom set, putting them on a better set, right? Like if you have my set beat, and a set is the nut hand class, like you have a better set.
GG, yeah, we're paying.
Exactly, we're paying. So the spot is like, okay, well, if I'm going to be beat expensively, if I'm beat, in order to make up for that, I need to make up the maximum from my opponent the times I'm not beat, right? And the thing is, I'm going to be beat rarely, but when I'm going to be beat with this hand, it's going to be for a lot of chips. When my hand is best, it's probably not going to win a lot of chips. It actually needs to make some chips over all those times in order to make up for the one time that I'm beat and I lose all the chips.
And,
so you
and
have
David,
to learn Finley, have to learn to let your opponent bluff you when you have a catcher, right?
Yeah, so I'm just saying that, David, you might not have played with Carl a bunch, but I've played plenty with Carl, right? And and I'm telling you, like, his presence on the table is a lot. Like, he basically, he tells about, he has a very, very strong idea, right? Like a super strong idea of who's playing what. And I've never ever seen anyone dominate, especially in the Florida, circle, like he does. Like he's simply there to.
I haven't played a lot with you, but I've heard a comparison of you to me, which actually I took as a compliment to me because I knew your reputation.
That's a compliment to me.
Well, they were talking about Hendons, and they're like, Carl has a lot of earnings on Hendon, and no like massive giant score to make up. Like, in other words, your Hendon is because you've consistently been winning. Real world sums where like you win 60, 80K here and there, like, 40K here, 40K there. And mine's exactly the same way. I only have 3 now, but before this last trip before it, I only had 2 6-figure scores. And like, it's kind of weird just to think about that. It's just like, but someone told me, like, yeah, like this guy's just like always winning, but he doesn't have these outliers. So like
That's been a monkey on my back. I'm gonna try to change it this year in Vegas. Definitely, I need a 6-figure. It's about time for sure.
Well,
Well,
what
it
it
takes,
is,
all
yeah,
it
you might
takes is
be overdue
one
for it,
more.
but
Yeah,
it's more impressive actually.
yeah,
You've
for
done
sure.
it.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, somebody was talking. We talked about. I mentioned something about not having good tournaments locally and how the tournament scene is going downhill, because we all know the if Hard Rock is going to shit as far as tournaments, the whole scene in Tampa is going to shit because Hard Rock is the main poker room. And somebody told me it was Duckman. He said, "Oh, why don't you play cash? It's less variance." So I didn't want to respond online. I went and showed him my all-time graph. Not all-time graph. I've been tracking since like 2019. And if you see the graph, it's like it's not straight up, but there's no like big downswings. It's just somewhat it's pretty impressive graph since 2019. So I'm like, Duckman, show me where's the variance. I said that's why I don't play cash, because I'm steady like winner in tournament poker. To double down on what you guys are saying, but see what I said, David. We haven't touched up on one question, but
That's okay.
I love the topic we're talking about. I told you poker always branches off. Somebody asked me a question online. They don't want to be named, but let me see the question. She said, well, I gave up the sex. It's a she, but we're not going to name names. Ask David about the cowboy that raised 5x pre from early position in the Cherokee main with king 3 off. David ended up going all in with his hand, but never showed on a jack high flop, and then rebought and ran deep. How do you play against a donkey in the main? Do you remember that hand?
Yeah. I don't remember what I had, but it was a bluff. If I recall correctly, I bluffed him, and he ends up having top pair. Like he was a blaster, right? This was an old guy.
That's the exact subject we're talking about. Like, don't bluff amateurs off of top pair. They're not full.
I didn't think he had top pair.
They're probably calling maybe 1 out of 20. They might fold top pair if you put a lot of pressure. Like you're
Yeah,
repping like
sure.
a monster.
I don't love the way I played the hand, and I don't remember the hand exactly.
Okay.
But yeah, I did. I mucked my hand, but I think I had like Jack 10 suited or something like that. Like one thing is that's early in the main. I have a different philosophy, I think, than most people do. And I'm pretty sure I'm right about it. It's one of those things that, like, if I'm not, it's costing me a little EV, but if I'm right, it's printing a lot of EV. And that is that early in the tournament, and I could try to go into like the brief math of it here if you want, that kind of proves, or what I think proves it. But that early in the tournament, chips aren't worth much. They're worth less than a buy-in, in my opinion. Now, they're worth more than a buy-in, but most of it's locked away in this future that usually doesn't happen. And so, like, if you bust punting, if you bust bluff catching, if you bust bluffing, if you bust on a bad beat, if you bust flipping, it doesn't matter. All of your early game buy-ins are plus EV lottery tickets to the end game, because there's two times where it's blazingly apparent that you're printing money in tournaments. One of those is at the beginning of the tournament, in a soft tournament, when people are giving you free starting stacks, like, or you have a good opportunity to catch free starting stacks. Obviously, you can get beat. And then the other time is when you make the end game and you get to play for high stakes against people who don't know they're playing for high stakes. I'm going to use the Cherokee main as an example because I've done the math on it before. When there's 13, 14 people left in the Cherokee 1700 main, the average stack is worth about $70,000, right? 70K. The average stack, 13 or 14 left, that's like 30 blinds, or 70K. People don't know that, right? And they look at, and they're thinking about the game in terms of pay jumps. They're looking at how much they have locked up and when the pay jump is. And they're like, oh, well, if I dust when there's not an imminent pay jump, it's not a big deal. Well, it kind of is a big deal because your stack's worth 70 and you have 14.
Ooh, that's a great concept.
The difference in what you have locked up and what your stack's worth is what the table, the field as a whole makes when you lose your chips without laddering any further, right? But the next ladder doesn't hardly even realize any of that equity, like, right? You have to win the tournament to realize most of that equity. You have to top 3. But when there's 13, 14 left, we get to play. People are thinking their stack is worth like maybe 20K or something like that, or if they're thinking at all about it, right? So like getting to play the end game with people who don't know they're playing high stakes, like in a 400, right? Like a 400 Cherokee, you might make the final table and first place might be 35, 40K in one of these one days, but everybody's stack's worth 10 to 15, right? Because of the way the structure is working. It may be worth less than 15. I'm giving ballparks. I've done the math for the Cherokee main. So when I'm going back to the early game, like when things go well, you get a free 3 to 5 starting stacks at the end of reg. Those are your like best case outcomes. Like the times you have 5 stacks, 6 stacks, like that's an outlier for end of reg. If you can get 3 on average, you're doing really well. Okay, we still have to win hundreds more of starting stacks, right? So the early game being soft is highly overrated as a reason to enter the tournament. You should be thinking about how soft the end game will be, which is why a lot of people go from the circuit, they're crushing the circuit, and they go to Vegas and they're break even to slight loser. And I'm talking about ROI wise. I'm not saying like.
Why do you think this is good that you brought up Vegas? We're going to talk about the Vegas grind a little bit, and I have a couple questions before. But why do you think from Cherokee to Vegas that you see that discrepancy in their result?
Because of the end game difference, right? So like tournament poker, I like to say it's like sharecropping or serfdom, so to speak. It takes a few steps to get here, but like let's start at the end. When you get to the end game, if you're the best player at your table, right, which at the final table, that means the best player left in the tournament, but like final 2 tables, I call the end game in a large field multi-flight 3 tables or less. If it's like 600 people entered, then it's maybe 2 tables down. But like end game in a Cherokee means the final 3 tables. End game in a large bracelet field, final 3 tables. If you're the best player at your table, every single player at your table has a loss rate to you. And the other regs that you're better than, now I'm talking hypothetically here. I'm not sitting there saying I'm better than this or that. I'm just like hypothetically you're the best player, right? Every player has a loss rate to you, which means that the other regs who beat the recs just as badly as you do. Sometimes they might beat the recs worse because they're taking risks you don't need to take and playing spots you don't need to take. But like the regs that are worse than you have been out there beating these recreational players and amassing these chip stacks at other tables that you weren't at. And now they arrive at your table and a portion of their stack is earmarked to you on average in loss rate, right? So you effectively, when it's your turn to play the end game, you retroactively have had employees the whole time, right? Accumulating for you, tax collectors, so to speak.
Doing the work for you, yeah.
Right. Well, you're not going to make the end game that much more often than anybody else on average. The best player in the field is not going to make the final table twice as often as the next best reg, as a bad reg, so to speak. And I say bad not as in bad at poker, as in like someone who's beating the field but is worse than you, right? You're not going to make the end game that much more often. It's just over realizing when you do, right? So when you get there, if you're the best player left, you're going to over realize because you have less of an uphill fight, right? And so game selection in tournaments boils down to entering tournaments where you're one of the best players in the field, because then when it's your turn to go deep, you'll almost always be the best player left. Like if you were the 10th best player in the field, when it's your turn to make the final table, you're probably the best guy left on average, right? Meanwhile, like the 50th best guy in the field, now we're talking Cherokee right now, the 50th best guy in the field, when he makes the final table, he's probably the 4th best reg left, right? So he's the, like, you know what I'm saying? You need to know where you're at on the totem pole, and then enter tournaments where you're one of the best ones. That's obviously you can't do that in Vegas for the most part. But on the circuit, a good strategy is like when the 4 to 3,500 is going on, if they're like, that tournament is known to be super soft on day one, right? Almost anybody in the circuit is making money on day one. The problem is that's a 5-day tournament and it's almost always a tough end game. So like, if you don't think you're one of the best 50 people that will enter it, what I would do and what I used to do, I just now started playing 4 to 3,500s in the last year and a half, 2 years, right? Before that, I used to text Brett after And I was like, where are you guys going? Because Brett would be running around with Andy Ospatenko and Brock and all those guys back then when they were doing the circuit. And I'm like, where are you guys playing this week?
Brett who?
Because I was going to play somewhere else. So they were playing at 3,500 and there's an 1,100 going on over here. That's where I'm going. I'm going to the 1,100 where the pros aren't, right? When there's things going on in Vegas, that's a good time to be playing higher stakes out here.
Question, we're going to talk about staking and backing and all that, and then see if you have a backer, and just talk
Sure.
about the whole, but I had a couple questions. Early reg or late reg, and why?
All right, 1 second, and let me finish the answer to the last one.
Yeah,
When
sure.
you go to Vegas, right, if you're the 10th best guy in the Cherokee main, right,
Mhm.
when you go to Vegas and play a bracelet above 1,500, you're probably not in the top 200. You know what I mean? And so the reason why people that crush the circuit are still going to struggle in Vegas is because when you go out to Vegas and it's your turn to play deep, deep in the field, you get to play the end game. You won't be the best player left on average. And these people aren't going to be playing scared money. That's the other advantage you have in the Cherokee main, is that the recreational players there are playing for pay jumps, right? The 30, 40K pay jump means a lot to them. If you take that same rec and put him at a bracelet final table, he's going to forget about the pay jumps and play for the bracelet. Like, he cares about the bracelet, which is closer to correct than what he's doing at the average final table in Cherokee, right? So the end game is not as soft, and you won't be as at the apex of it when you make it as often in Vegas as you will on the circuit. That's why people struggle. They crush the circuit. Also, a lot of things that you can get by on the circuit with very little theory. You're going to need some theory in Vegas. All right. And
when you say Cherokee, like what's the feel? I've never been to Cherokee. Everybody tells me or asks me, "Oh, have you been? Have you been?"
you haven't got
never been. Field size.
I'm playing. You need to be in Cherokee, brother.
Yeah, I'm going to this year, but field size on average, because I feel like in Vegas everything is amplified. Everything is like times 5 and times 10 as far as field size. The smallest, like a 1,500, the minimum entries is going to be like 10,000. So compared to Cherokee, what are we talking at Cherokee? Like in a 1,500 or a main event, what are the entries total? Like
main event gets like 2,000 entries, I think, or something at most. I'm sorry, that's what the 400s get with the multi-flight.
So the story checks out. Everything is multiplied by 5 and 6. That's why in Vegas you need to slow everything down. Like, looking at the screen, it's going to be like intimidating when people are used to like dailies, looking at the screen and seeing like 200 people. Like maybe the Saturday triple 30 at Hard Rock, you see like 270, 260. In Vegas, you're going to see in a small buy-in like the Colossus, total entries is like 20,000. Every flight has like 4,000, 5,000. So everything is like multiplied by.
And even the dailies as well on the World Series, right?
The dailies, I was talking about the dailies, you know, the people that never been to Vegas, I'm like, go out there and just bink a daily.
40K and a daily 400, yeah.
Like a daily at Aria, the 800 is always like 60, 70K every single day. If you make top, you know, three, you're going to chop maybe for 60, 70K at least. And the dailies at the Horseshoe, maybe 40K, 50K first place. But the structure is not the best with the daily. We're going to talk about all the details in Vegas and what the pros and cons. But back to my question, early reg or late reg, and why? And you said accumulating stacks early is valuable.
It is valuable. So first of all, I guess we should, before I answer this, I'll give you the cliff answer is early reg. I'm there
early.
Every time.
Early, like first hand dealt or
first hand dealt, yeah, if possible.
First hand dealt.
But I want to explain why, and I'll try to be brief. The theory behind max late reg is really good online. And the idea is that the idea behind it is, well, you keep your average buy-in. Let's say you only max late reg, okay? Let's say that was you never reg before.
That's what I've been doing lately, and I tell you why, yeah.
Yeah, your average buy-in is now, per unique flight, is now 1, right? So a $400 tournament, even if it's a multi-flight, costs you 1 shell per flight, okay? And now I'm going to tell you mine's like 1.7 shell per flight on average, right? Which means a 400 costs
that's not bad.
80 to me, right? On average, right? Like if I just re-enter as necessary, because I'm there hand 1, if I bust, I rebuy, right? I actually usually don't reg if I have less than 20 blinds, unless it's a spot where this is my last chance to back that event, right? in live poker. The idea behind it came from online, where it's very profitable because when they do the late reg, when they max late reg, they're actually very close to in the money for one.
That's
And
my main thing, is being close to the money and avoiding the early bullshit when you're playing with Rex and they're playing for like 200, 300 pots when the pot should be like 14, 15 bigs. I'm
yeah,
avoiding all the bullshit and I'm showing up like, instead of playing for 8 hours to get in the money, I'm playing half that to be in the money. And the
sure.
example is
Okay.
like
So
Sarah
online,
said,
go ahead,
yeah,
Sid.
go.
A question there, David, to just what Carl was mentioning. How do you balance this trade-off versus, like you have an edge where you can accumulate chips versus you are pushing variance when you're regging late, right? Because there's higher variance, right? So how do you balance this trade-off there?
Embrace the another word for variance is volatility. Embrace volatility in tournaments. Online for the late reg thing, the big thing is that the only investment you have is the buy-in, and you're sitting there on your screen. This is what, if you're using that strategy online, you're playing 10 tables probably, right? Because it's super easy to play these stacks. You don't need to think about it. Live, I would posit that one, all right, so online also has lower rake. So when you make your 1.6 buy-ins for the min cash, online it's like 1.5, 1.6 buy-ins. You're actually doing pretty well. Live, between the rake, the visible rake, which is the money you're spending, but then you have this logistics rake. It costs you time and money to be there, right? It costs you, like, if I'm traveling for a tournament stop,
Yeah.
like, and also online has a very like evenish payout schedule. Live is like this huge increase at top prizes. If you want an ROI in live poker, you absolutely have to be playing for the top 5 prizes. That's where all the profit comes from. Everything else is noise. So I would just posit that getting in the money isn't that valuable of a strategy. Like playing a strategy that's like, I'm going to get in the money more than my fair share, isn't going to maximize your hourly rate in live poker the same way it does in online poker. Online, it's very efficient, but live, you've got all these sunk hours that cost you to get to the table. Even when you live at your local casino, you have probably an hour commute round trip to get there, right? Like between getting to, you might not have driven an hour round trip, but you walked from the garage, you had to eat something, you had dinner break, you had, like, even the dinner breaks and stuff that you're taking during a tournament, which take away from your hourly rate, are antithesis to
Well, I mean, you're not logging these in like I'm logging in actual time at the table.
Well, yeah, I'm not
You're
counting.
saying in the big
You
picture.
have
You're
to be
saying,
aware of these. You have to be
yeah,
aware of these costs.
I got you. I got you.
And then the other thing is that, like, look, the goal of the tournament is to get all the chips, right? Like, that's what you have to do to get all. You have to get all the chips, and whether you know it intrinsically or not, you have a finite number of hands. Again, I've done the math on the Cherokee main, so I use this a lot. A 1700 structure is about a 30-hour tournament. So it takes 30 hours to win the tournament. Whoever wins, if they played from hand one, played approximately 30 hours. In that 30 hours, then you're getting about 23 hands to an hour, 24 hands per hour max, right? So like you have if you do that, if you 30 times 24, you have a finite number of hands to get all the chips. The later into the structure you enter, which includes when you bust and re-enter, all the hands you could have played are already behind you. Like if all the hands you did play from hand one, they didn't happen anymore, right? Like they're so you're actually making your job harder by entering later. In other words, you have to win more per hand to achieve the goal, right? And here's the thing, even from hand one, no human win rate can sustainably win all these chips over this course of the hand. And this goes to what Sid was asking about variance and volatility. Your win rate's linear. It does this, right? The average stack over the course of the tournament goes in a curve. It looks linear for a while, but it's a curve, right? And near the end of the tournament, it starts doing this. But your win rate's linear. So while this starts curving, your win rate does this, right? But if you play poker, you understand that your win rate is in big blinds per 100, so to speak, right? And the big blinds per 100 has another component to it, which is volatility, which is also measured in big blinds per 100. And the volatility is a cone going off of, so like say you have a plus 20, like say your win rate's 20 big blinds per 100, but in cash, like 80 is a good volatility, right? In 6 max online cash. So a guy with 20 big blind win rate and 80 big blind volatility means over 100 hands, he's going to on average finish somewhere between plus 100 and minus 80, right? Well, in cash, it's important not to lose all 80 when you run bad, right? But in tournaments, if you run bad, you're going to be out anyway. That's just the fact. Like if you get bad distribution, you're going to go out anyway. And the only diff is whether you sneak them in cash in on that shell or not, when you ran bad. And I promise you at the end of your career, that won't matter. So there's no real punishment for busting faster in tournaments when you run bad, but there is great reward for maximizing when you run good. So like what I try to tell people, or I try not to tell people this, I guess I'm putting it on the internet now. Your strategy should not be designed to lose slower when you run bad. It should be designed to win the max when you run good, and at cost of all other costs be damned. Like you should devise your strategy to maximize the earn when you run good. In other words, when you're riding the upper volatility cone, you want to maximize that outcome at the expense of everything else. And that is why, if you look at who always has the chips, it's regs who are considered kind of like maniacs, and it's whales who overplay every hand. And the reason they seem like there's enough of those in the field that on average, a couple of them are always going to be running well. Like a couple of them are going to be at the top end of their volatility cone. And because they're overplaying every single hand, when it's their day in the sun, they maximize, right? And so a guy that has like a break-even win rate or a minus 10 win rate in tournaments, volatility is measured like not in 80 big blinds per 100. It's like hundreds of big blinds per 100 because we're all in a lot. And so a guy that has like a bigger volatility than you, like plus minus 300, while yours is plus minus 200, your win rate doesn't matter anymore. If your win rate's plus 30 and his is 0 or minus 5, when you both run good, he's going to outperform you because he's running at 300 minus his 5. Like if he's minus 5, he's running at plus 295 on the same good distribution that you're running at plus 230. You're 30 plus your 200, right? He's going to crush you. And when you both get the same bad run of cards, he's going to be out a little quicker than you or a lot quicker than you, but there's no punishment.
Well said. I see how your brain
works. That was a mouthful, my
bad. What was the question? I said late reg or early reg? You
said I'm definitely early reg.
I've been trying late reg lately, and it's been working like a charm. Just for the fact that I know I have to play shorter time to be in the money. It's definitely, like you said, it's going to make your job harder because you're buying in average around 30 bigs, which I'm comfortable with.
Can I give one caveat that actually might be a good point for yours?
Yeah.
You're playing in smaller fields local in Tampa, right?
Smaller fields for sure.
Okay.
Sub 100. Sub 100.
Oh yeah. So when you late reg and get the spin and cash, you're also very close to the final table now too, right?
Yeah, 100%.
You're actually not going to get punished as much as far as lack of FTing, and because the amount you need to spend to catch up is way less than in a large field. In a large field, when you max late reg and get your double, and now you get in the money, you maybe, let's say you have 3 stacks at that point when you get in the money. You sneak in the money with your 3 stacks. In order to catch up, you've got to win. You're going to have to catch up to like 30 starting stacks, like eventually, right? You know what I mean? In the sub 100 person field, you need to catch up to like 8 starting stacks, right? So like when you spin all the way more often than
again, like we said, everything is amplified with a bigger field, of course. Yep. Yes, you're closer to the money, but you still have a lot of work to do for sure. What's the biggest leak that you see from local MTT players?
It's probably what we talked about earlier with Sid, turning bluff catchers into bluffs. Like that's probably, if I could give any like person who is like losing small or breaking even one tip to like step up to the next level. In other words, a small loser becomes break even, a break even player becomes small winner. A small winner actually might become a reg. Is quit turning your bluff catchers into bluffs, and all sorts of good things follow from that.
Sometimes at showdown, I look at the person and I'll be like, was this a bluff or a value? They don't know how to answer. They just think that sometimes they just put chips in the middle, not knowing what the purpose is. They just think, okay.
The purpose was usually to avoid facing a bet.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Which is not why we bet.
Yeah,
It's either clear value or clear bluff. It shouldn't be mergy. It shouldn't be in the middle. Where
there
it's kind
is
of
an
value,
excuse.
but it's not a complete bluff. Like, but they don't know what they're trying to accomplish. So
There are bets that function prior to the river as equity denial. In other words, like I'm going to make him fold equity. He doesn't know he has. An example being like, and that's what we call protection. But people get protection mixed up. Like they think protection means I need to protect against this flush draw. Well, no, your opponent's not supposed to fold his highest equity continues. You're not gaining protection against a flush draw. You're value betting versus the flush draw.
Give an example of a board where you're betting for protection. And when we say protection, we're not saying like the pot is 5 bigs and you have pocket jacks on a 9 high board and you shove 80 bigs because, oh, you don't want them to outdraw you. Like
No.
the pros do it for a completely different, the same
Protection
purpose,
bets are generally small.
different. Yeah.
A good example is let's say I have pocket eights on like ace 5-6.
How about queen deuce deuce?
Queen deuce deuce can function for this too, but pocket eights actually, like queen deuce deuce, pocket eights, or ace 5-6. It's the same concept, right? When I bet small, right, and I make let's say I'm gonna use the queen deuce deuce example first, right? If I bet pocket eights, ace king doesn't fold, right?
Of course not. We're not targeting ace king. We're
not
targeting queen jack.
I'm getting value from ace king. But on queen deuce deuce, when I bet those pocket eights, if I make like let's use sevens instead, because sevens is a better has more targets in range than 10 jack. Like if I have sevens here and I bet and I make 10 jack O fold, like the big blind folds 10 jack, it had 6 outs the same way ace king did, but it folded because it doesn't have overs to my queen. So like when I have a queen, it's near dead, and so it folds. It doesn't know that the 2 overcard combos that don't know they have 6 clean outs against my actual hand have to fold because of how they're doing against my better hands. And my eights or my sevens, they gain protection from that. That's what a protection bet is. That's equity denial. And so it's like, and now in this example, it's a pure value bet that also has a bonus of equity denial because it gets called by worse, right? But an example of something like, let's say the same board is like, let's say it's ace 7-6 and I have pocket fours. Okay. Pocket fours get the same benefits of folding out 8-9 offsuit, jack 10 offsuit, or suited, right? Like on a 5-6 ace, right? All these cards that don't have an overcard to the ace, but do have 2 overcards to our pocket fours. Those hands, when they fold, I'm fours, when I bet them, they're not really a bluff because they're ahead of all these hands that have to fold. They function as equity denial or protection against those hands, even though they don't get called by worse very often. They're not really a bluff. They're just a protection bet. So fours on ace 5-6 is a good example of a protection bet.
Let's talk about sizing. Like, what are people using as far as sizing lately in the solver world? Where you see on average, like let's say in Cherokee, are people doing what the solver recommends? Like, are they doing third pot flop, 80% turn? Like, what's the standard now? Like, because like before solvers, like back in like 12 or like
half pot,
07 to like 15, people were like half pot. The half pot was the standard. Like nobody knew any other sizing. It was like half pot, and then they use the same size. I love when the recreational do like, let's say the pot is like 10K, they would do 3K on the flop or 4K on the flop, 4K on the turn, 4K on the like. What are you trying to achieve with these bets? We're just putting money just to put money in the pot, but there's like no end goal. We're not maximizing profit. We're not denying equity. Like you're giving your villain the great odds on both streets, on turn and rivers. So what's the standard sizing that you're seeing in on the circuit?
I do have to preface this with despite what a lot of people think, I'm not like in solver land every day or anything like that. I might look at a solver 4 times a year or something. I think people in general, what they took from solvers is just aping the small size. So they just tend to use this quarter pot to third pot habitually and range bet. And there's a lot to be said for this. I think for most people against most opponents, that simplifying and range betting the flop for a small size probably overperforms anything else they would come up with their own. Just because the population does not do the things that punish that strategy. So like on average, in order to punish that strategy, if you want to range bet for small, I need to check raise you a fuck ton, right? And a lot of the check raises are uncomfortable and unintuitive. But the reason they work, the reason they're necessary is because the way I'm punishing you is denying your equity with your bluffs, with your stabs. You stab, I check raise small. And now things that have 6 outs versus my actual hand, or are ahead versus my actual hand, like your ace high, when I have like king 7 on 4, 6, 10, right? I might check raise you with king come 4, 6, 10 rainbow. I guarantee you king 7 suited with a backdoor flush draw check raises at high frequency. Like and that's not from studying a solver. That's just from thinking about the way the hand interacts with the board. And now when you see bet your king jack or king queen, you have or your king 9, like let's say you see bet king 9. You opened, you probably have the offsuit versions of these hands, so you won't always have a backdoor flush draw. If you're like cut off button, hijack, you probably, like you said,
are you talking about as villain or us?
As villain. Let's say you open, I defend big blind, right?
Okay.
If you see bet small on this 10-6-4, I'm gonna need to check raise a bunch, and the mechanic behind that is you probably opened king 9 offsuit because people like you said, people don't 3-bet enough, so we open wider. If you're range betting, you're like this board, that means your entire range is betting. And when I check raise you, all of these offsuit hands that you have 12 extra combos of over the suited, all of those become like just auto folds, because like what are you going to do with king 9 offsuit on 10-6-4? You going to float me with it? Like good luck, right? I'm going to have value too. Like I'm going to be check raising a 10. You're in bad shape against that.
I love it. Yeah.
But my king 7 folds out your ace highs that stabbed. It folds out your kings that stabbed. When you stab with 8s or something like that, like on 10-6-4, 8s is a really good hand. And when you bet it and I check raise, now all of a sudden I've taken a really good hand in your range and turned it into a bluff catcher across multiple streets, is what you're threatened with, right? So you have to do something with it right now. And you're going to have to do something. And it's probably not fold with 8s, but like you're going to now have to play 8s across multiple streets, facing potential aggression and more cards that may come bad for your range and bad for your hand and good for my range, right? The cards that are good for your range, when you have 8s, you're not going to bet them. So I'm not facing trouble, right? Like when a king comes, that's good for your range, and I have a bad top pair now. But you're not going to put me to the test when you have, like, I'm going to get to play with it, like play it for value for small bets out of position, and you're not going to turn 8s into a bluff, right? Like they're too good to turn into a bluff. So like, but population is not check raising enough, so you're probably fine to just range bet like that. When you're asking about sizes, I think you dropped out, Carl. Like Carl disappeared. Sid's still here. Wait a second, see if he comes back.
Yeah.
If he doesn't come back immediately, I'll keep talking for continuity, but I'm not sure. Let's text and see if he can hear us.
I can text Carl. Carl.
I'm sure he'll be back in a second. Just for the sake of the feed, I'll finish the thought. Basically, he was asking about what sizes I see, and I see people doing this small size range bet. I think it's fine for most people to do, and I think that if they try to deviate, now you do need to have some theory about you, because what they do tend to do is cheat up when they have a good hand. So on this 10-6-4, when they have a 10 or better, now they tend to have pot.
Carl just mentioned he's just joining back, so just stand back. Yeah.
Okay, all right, cool.
Oh, he's here.
I think we got him back.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
His avatar's less pretty than him.
We can hear you.
Okay. I'm having
Not
issues with my
even-
camera. I'm coming back. Stand by. I'll be back.
You're all good. I'm just kidding.
You got a different haircut? I see a different haircut.
It's a lack of a haircut. Lack thereof.
You are you in Vegas, or where are you right now?
I'm at home. Go to Vegas sometime next week. Our house starts on the 27th, and
I see.
I'll go out there sometime around then. I'm hoping to play this 10K GG Millions thing that they've got a new 10K out at the beginning of the series, and it basically is it's identical as far as I know to the WPT 10K structure, but A, it's a bracelet event, automatically softer. B, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of the Euros don't come over at the very beginning of the summer, so it'll be the least Euroed 10K of all the 10K this summer. Because there will be a non-zero amount that don't come over till later.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me, guys?
I can hear you.
Yep.
I can't see you.
Still having issues with my camera. I'm gonna have to leave and come back. Sorry about this.
No, it's good. We'll wait on you.
Yeah. Just
talking about that sizing thing though, which is like, I think that one thing I might try to do more this summer is use the bigger c-bet sizes, including over bets on flops as c-bets specifically against the studied people. Because like you're putting them in a node where they don't know what to do. And one benefit of doing that, I'm curious if Carl will be able to hear this or not, or like have to repeat it or whatever. He might be interested in it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But like one benefit of taking people into uncomfortable nodes is that, and doing things they haven't studied or can't have studied for, is you actually get an in real time read off of how they react to it. They have to think on the fly versus something they can't react auto to. They don't have it memorized in their solver. Yeah. And like, all right, so one of the cheap things I do is blind bet when we're super deep. I'll give you examples. I've been doing this a lot in the last 6 months. It's very effective. I'm not doing this versus fish. I'm only doing this against quote unquote good players. When I say that, if they're actually better than you or not, as long as they think they're better than you, this works really good. It actually works really good against people better than me. So if I have a hand multi-way and I'm in the small blind or the big blind and the small blinds, if I'm first to act on the flop, I'll often, when we're super deep, put out like a blind or a blind and a half blind multi-way, even if I'm not the pre-flop aggressor. Like I might defend small blind, big blind folds, or big blind calls.
Yeah.
And we're like 5-way to a flop, 150 blinds deep. And I'm not doing this with a hand like fours that wants to flop a set or go home, right? I'm doing it with hands that are going to want to continue a lot anyway. Hand like 9-10 suited, Jack Queen suited, times where I've called pre-flop with ace queen suited in the small or something like that. 7-6 suited, 4-6 suited, things like that. Well, the 7-6 and the 4-6 are slight exceptions because these hands aren't going to want to continue as often as like Jack-10 suited. It's very hard to find a board that doesn't want to see a turn, right? Like there's very few. They will happen. It'll come like ace 3-3 rain, not your suit, and you just torch that one blind, right? And it looks like a torch, and it's like your opponents will play so badly versus it when you connect, because almost inevitably they feel like they have to raise you when they don't have showdown value.
Yeah,
which is funny, right? Which clears the rest of the field and stuff like that. But one concept that people don't understand is that blind that I'm putting out there, I'm not just lighting it. I'm actually making a down payment on a most likely future continue anyway. And sometimes it comes in the form of everybody just calls, right? And now I got to see the turn for cheaper than I would have if I had checked and let them make a bet and I needed to call it. Also, I've capped them for that price. But when I get raised, if it's a board I need to continue on, the 300 counts toward that, right? Like I said, I'm putting a continue on layaway, so to speak. So it's not as torchy as it looks. And you just get all sorts of benefits where people just put in, we're hundreds of blinds deep. So I'm trading a one big blind mistake, so to speak. And then you have to react to
Sorry to cut you, but Carl just texted me saying that restarting everything, be back in 5 max. I'm not sure what he's doing, but not sure if he meant to restart the stream or something, but yeah.
All right, no sweat. Oh, how are things?
Maybe not for I'll tell you, sometime.
Yeah, not for public consumption. Heard, understood.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, life's good. Life's good, but haven't played poker for quite a bit. And also, last year online thing, it got banned in India.
I think you told me about that. Yeah.
I think we did. Yeah, yeah. I don't remember. It's been a while we spoke, but
Yeah, that sucks.
haven't played live for like quite a while now.
It does suck it being banned for your situation.
Yeah,
Ultimately, especially, is there any sort of live poker scene in India?
it is, but it's mostly cash. I
Okay.
hate playing cash. Yeah.
Yeah, if you played cash, it would be good for you that online's banned. So like, I actually have this theory, future sponsorship opportunities be down, but I think that the sooner online poker is completely banned in the United States, if that could happen, I think it's a net good for poker overall. Because online poker used to be a great on ramp to poker. People could like play low stakes, get their feet wet, and they'd be like, and you had a chance. But the thing is, back then, this was pre Black Friday. Back then, you had a chance to win. The rake wasn't insane. All the sites hadn't made every format a race to the bottom to take away any possible edge so that they can just rake all the money, which is the environment you're playing in now. And that's not considering cheating, botting, collusion, all that stuff, right? With the rake and the cheating and the botting and the collusion and the formats online, it is almost, and not only that the average online reg is so good now, they're so studied. Hey, he's back.
Guys, sorry about that. I had to restart everything, man. I've been having
No
this.
sweat. We kept it rolling for the audience.
I can hear you. I can hear the audio, but my camera just went off, and the software wouldn't recognize the camera.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, we kept it going. I'll wrap this one up. It's like someone starting online poker now, if that's how they got their feet wet in the game, is drawing dead to even get lucky and win. So like, it's more of, if that's the on ramp, it's going to turn more people away from poker than it brings to poker, so to speak. So, in my opinion, not only that, online poker, its existence is the impetus for people to be actually studying and getting so good at the game. And then those people, so when we get new live players that came from online, they're invariable crushers now, right? And that beats the recreational players and the unstudied live regs, which is where the money's coming from. There's a big, outside of Vegas, like we were talking about these large fields, and I wanted to make a point about that. He's gone again. Hopefully you can hear me. On the circuit, the volume of buy-ins is coming from regs rebuying, not actually from true recreational players. Now, some of those regs are recreational regs, but like the volume of the prize pool is made up of re-entry. I think one of those differences in those large fields that Carl was talking about in Vegas is one of the unicorn aspects of that is that because there are so many recreational players coming out there to fire, that might not be true out there in Vegas. I'm not sure. I'm confident on the circuit that the volume of the prize pools comes from regs re-entering, but I'm not confident, and which is when people say we need to cater to the fish and cater to the regs. It's like, well, no, you actually need to make it friendly for the medium regs, because they're supplying the volume, especially the backed ones. They're supplying the volume of the re-entry. And so, like, if you make the game unbeatable for them, eventually they just go out of. If they don't exist, the prize pools get way smaller. I'm not sure that's true in Vegas. It might turn out that the majority of the buy-ins in Vegas are like the bulk of the prize pool, over half comes from regs, which would be make a lot of sense, because like, how did it get 5 times the size when there's the same number of grinders? I think
David,
it is.
David, let's talk Vegas grind for beginners and veterans. Where do you stay? What do you do food wise? Let's talk. Also, I was gonna talk about mental game. We talked strategy. We talked what the regs are doing, what the regs are doing lately. But let's talk Vegas grind. How long you been going out there? First of all,
I think my first year was 2019. I might be wrong. I think I went out there for 2019. Whatever year the earthquake was there was my first. My first year was when the earthquake happened, and the guy threw the shoe.
The guy threw what?
The guy threw the shoe at the dealer. I don't know if you remember that, like the big controversy. The same guy got.
Oh yes, it was news. Yeah.
And there was an earthquake during the main event.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first main event, day one. That's when the earthquake happened.
Are you talking about the main event, or Carl, were you talking about the World Series in general?
World Series, the grind, the Vegas grind.
My first main event was my first summer out there. So like, I mean, like Yeah, what they coincide. But I remember the earthquake happening during my first day one.
Okay, let's talk Vegas grind. Pros
Sure.
and cons. Any info or input you have on the grind in general, as far as hotel stay, pros and cons, Ubers, best places to eat. The how do you keep sane? For you go full schedule. You go day one till the end, till they shut down the doors, or you separate. You divide it in two parts. What's the plan?
Personally, now I'm there the whole time. The first first few years, I was alternating. I would go whole summer, and then the
Mhm.
next year I went the main and everything after, and then I did the whole summer, and then I did the main and everything after. Now I'm always going to be there full summer, but I have a lot of advice. I would recommend some people just starting out to consider playing the main and everything after. The biggest thing I could say is where like what hotels you need a group, you need an Airbnb with other people who are on your level or higher, preferably. I've always been the worst player in my house. That's a very good thing to be like the worst player in your group house, because you end up growing a ton over the summer as a player just by talking hands with players better than you. But you
Are you
need
talking how many people you share the house with? Three,
You
four, five?
usually need to split it 5 to 6 ways. I want to be really clear. Right now, I'm like my backer rents a house for the whole stable, so I'm in the house with my stable now. But before that, before I was backed by a guy who was backing other things. Shout out to Scroggs, by the way, my backer, and shout out to the rest of the stable also. But
What's his
before
name?
that, the guy
Frogs?
that originally backed me didn't back other players, and so what we would do is I would share a house with a group of other players. And there was the same core group every year when I was doing that. It was my friend Chris O'Neill. You guys might know him from online. I'm not sure. He doesn't play much live. And the rest of these friends I met through him. But Manny, Manis Gandhi, and then Kenny. Kenny hangs out with runs with Zach's crew a lot now. And so like I met him out there my first summer. Tony Miles was with us a couple summers, and I think they still room together when they all go. I'm not sure, but yeah, this type of group, like I said, I was the worst player and the worst poker player in the house, which like so I learned a lot.
Is it a prerequisite? Is it a package deal that you guys stay together, or you have the option to stay by yourself?
You mean with my stable, like with my
Yeah.
current backer? Well, yeah, I'm sure if I wanted to stay separate, I could, but he's paying for the house, and you're asking how much it cost, I think, for the house, and or you asked how many people we roomed with. Usually, you want
Yeah.
6 to 7 people to room because this house is going to be 30 to 40,000 for the summer, right? So you're splitting that. You're splitting that 6, 7 ways or whatever. You're in general cheaper to buy a mansion where everybody can have a room in or rent a mansion, or everybody can have a
Mhm.
room in the mansion. You have a pool and hot tub are key. Like you need to be able to sit and relax morning and or night. You need a kitchen where you can like cook healthy food, have plenty of healthy stuff to eat, get off the strip.
What do you do for food? You go out and shop, Walmart or any food stores there, and you cook your own meals, or you buy ready meals?
Kind of both. Currently we end up door dashing a lot, which is like sometimes you end up with less than healthy options if you know DoorDash pizza or whatever. But like I think the most important thing is what you eat for breakfast before you play, and or lack thereof. Like if I would rather not eat anything at all than eat something heavy, but I tend to do like I'll
Not
soft
even
boil.
breakfast. So how do you start the grind? Zero breakfast, nothing,
I'm
zero
saying
food.
I would rather have no breakfast than a heavy breakfast. What I prefer is 2 soft-boiled eggs, a water, and a coffee. That's kind of my go-to. So I'll get eggs, soft boil them on day on one day, and I'll have the whole container refilled with soft-boiled eggs. I can just crack and eat them cold. And I'll eat
So
2 of
you're
those.
taking the container with you to the grind.
No, 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 no. If I want
Two
to take
eggs in the morning, water, coffee, and that's it for 8 9 hours.
Yeah, if you want to take something with you, take an apple, take a can of sardines or something like high protein, nothing else. Like that's good stuff.
Sardines is gonna get smelly if you eat it on break, or
I'm
Um,
as in my
it's
breath
not a
kind of
good
smell.
option. It's good protein. It's gonna keep your blood sugar steady. But okay, I have two comments. The sharing the house with the stable, 5, 6 people. For me personally, the recharge after a bust out in a tournament, I don't want to talk to anyone. I want to be in complete silence. I've shared a room before, and the person I shared the room before was very negative, and our energy are completely different. He drained my batteries. For me to recharge, I got to be away from people, complete silence, away from the casino. So being with 4 or 5 people, now they're your friends. You can talk strategy, a little bit about the day that might recharge your batteries. But me personally, I'm a recluse. I like to be by myself. Nobody in the room.
Yeah.
So that might work for people. Having a backup, talking to them might recharge your battery. It's up to the person.
I would
As far
say
as
you said sharing a room. Like I would say sharing a house a lot different than sharing a
it was
room.
a house. It was a house. It was a fully
Okay.
furnished. It was a fully furnished house, kitchen. I went to Walmart, bought all the stuff. So I tried to keep the routine as kind of like when I'm home.
Yeah.
I filled the fridge with the same food that I have home. Breakfast was like 4 or 5 eggs, like egg sandwich basically. Now I'm cutting down more on the food to stay focused. I did one time here, no food at all. Woke up, zero food, and I grinded 9 hours, no problem. This is shout out to Justin Fawcett. He does that. No food at all throughout the grind, just water and gum. I did it, and it actually worked. I wasn't like moody or anything, but normally I eat a good breakfast and then no food throughout the grind, just water and gum basically.
Yeah.
But
I haven't tried
so
the gum thing. That might be good.
what? The no food?
No gum. I haven't tried gum while I
I
played.
always chew gum. It keeps me calm, but I think it gives off some tells. Sometimes people stop chewing or they chew
Chew
faster.
faster. Chew with the
Yeah,
back
and
of their
you
jaw
movement
instead of the
in
teeth
your
on the front.
face. You want to keep the movement in your face the minimum. So lately, I've been hiding my mouth. It's been working like a charm. I always put
Like,
my hand like this. I'm hiding my mouth, and you can
yeah.
barely see my eyes. But to each his own. Some people can have a full face showing and not give off tells. I think I give off some tells, so I try to
I
hide
think
as much as possible.
just to what Card is mentioning, just to add up on that, I've played a bunch with Card. Like me and Card, we have played plenty, right? And never ever I could spot a lot of tells in Card. And I'm just saying, like really, maybe
I
David,
have my
you might be
days.
different.
I have my days. Sometimes you think that you're giving off tells and you won't, and sometimes you
Yeah,
think you're not giving off tells and people are reading you
he's
like a
he's
book.
he's really hard. Like he's really hard in giving off tells. Like
You know, the most valuable thing about that is that most of the tells that are reliable that I've found over the years, the way I found them was because I suspected that I was like, I caught myself doing it and worried, like you said, worried if I'm giving this off. And one comfort, just if anybody's worried about that, if you're ever worried about, oh, am I giving something off? Quit worrying about it in the moment will help it be less pronounced because most people aren't even looking for it.
yeah,
I kind of laugh when I see people wearing sunglasses at the table because I'm like, first of all, that blocks more information coming in than it protects going out. For one, in my opinion, and I think my opinion is very valid here. Um, Two, if they are mirrored sunglasses, that point is even more exacerbated. Also, sometimes people can catch a glimpse of your card in your glasses, and you don't need to know it's the 9 of clubs. Just knowing there's a corner on this card means it's a face card is a huge edge, or knowing that that card's red or black is a huge edge to be had. I will
yeah,
warn people with mirrored sunglasses, and I have a little stick that I like to do. I like to tell people with mirrored sunglasses, like, I'm going to give you one fair warning. I'm world class at sniping hole cards in mirrored sunglasses. And now that I've told you that, I don't feel bad trying, right? Now, a little secret is I'm actually not trying. I'm actually trying to get them to take the mirrored sunglasses off so that I can see their blink rate, which is one of the most reliable tells in poker. And that's the only thing that mirrored sunglasses protect. And the thing I laugh about is the non-mirrored sunglasses. I can still see your eyelids fluttering. Often, if I'm beside you and you're wearing mirrored sunglasses, when you blink, your eyelids will cast a shadow right here. And I can see that. So you're not even protecting yourself, but you're still taking all the negatives of wearing this thing that blocks information coming in. And a lot of times, most people aren't even looking for this, but I am one of the guys looking for it. And I'm telling you, you're not doing yourself any favors most of the time. you need to have mirrored sunglasses on sitting straight across from me where I can't see the shadow right here in order for it to actually be effective against somebody who is looking for it. Does that make sense?
Okay, thank you for mentioning this, because there's a meme online that I don't agree with, and everybody gives Kim Kardashian shit. It's a meme about Kim Kardashian wearing mirrored sunglasses. It was
that you can see it in her, you can see her cards in it or whatever.
It was a charity event, but the thing is, pros have been using mirrored sunglasses for ages, like since the 80s. And it's hard to see because of the angle. Like you're sitting up here and the cards are down here. It has to be the right angle. Like you have to be lower down like this so people can see the card. It's not easy to see the cards in the mirrored sunglasses. And they gave Kim so much shit, and I'm like, I always comment like, I don't understand this meme, because pros have Makita right here. He's a top pro, plays all the high rollers, all the Triton stops. Look at the mirrored sunglasses. If it was that easy to see the cards in the mirrored sunglasses, these guys, any edge or something that's gonna give somebody else's edge on them, they're not gonna do it. So if mirrored sunglasses were a problem, we won't see Makita wearing, or there's a bunch of other pros that wear
I agree. I've always thought that the meme about Kim Kardashian was kind of silly. I will say that like it is funny. Like you since you're using an example of a pro, you can watch any of these high roller streams where Volosang plays, because he's notorious for the hoodie and the sunglasses over, right? The sunglasses he wears aren't mirrored, and when they do close-ups of him, you can definitely see blink rate through the glasses he's wearing.
Vogelsang takes it to another level with hiding everything. And I can see why. I mean, he's playing with, like, these guys are on another level. Like they can see.
And they have to be, because they're playing against the same population of elite players over and over and over again. I would argue that, like, for your average guys, like including circuit pros playing in Vegas or whatever, man, like when you try to maintain that stoic image or whatever, it takes a non-zero amount of energy to do that. And you're playing, like, when I go to Vegas, when I leave the house, like if I bust the first event, like there's other good things to play. I'm going to be playing 10 hours plus every single day. If I was trying to put energy into not giving tails off, that's energy expended. I think it's probably more consistent. Like I think instead of trying to be stoic, being fluid and moving around freely and talking at the table and stuff like that, you're not going to give off something, like you're less likely, I think, to give off something useful and reliable then, because anything that somebody thinks they see, now they're going to have to like wait on a sample size to see if that was just random or not, because it probably was just random. Whereas when you're being stoic intentionally, you do something deviated, like when you actually do get something different in a hand, there's no telling what you might subconsciously do that breaks pattern, right? I think being fluid is probably more effective at disguising.
Fluid is the right word, because I look for things that are forced. And if somebody bets and I want to know if they're bluffing or not, I see if they're shuffling chips, even though I'm hiding my eyes, but I'm looking at their hand when they're shuffling chips. Do they slow down? Is it forced?
Change? Do you ever see them quit actually shuffling and start just flipping the chips? Like, when you ever notice that one?
Yeah, you can tell if they're nervous or not from the hands for sure. And the way they release the chips in the pot and how they take their hand back. Like, I'm looking for all this. If they take their back quick, and sometimes if it's a bluff, they take their hand quick and they fix their chips because they're nervous. So they make the bet, they take their hand back, and now they're doing something else with the hand instead of just taking it back and like relaxing. So anything forced like that tells you, I mean, of course, you're going to be wrong. Sometimes they might do that because they're nervous, because of happiness, because they have a big hand, or it could be forced because they're bluffing. So, by the way, this is Kim and her, this that became a meme, those glasses, which are similar to Makita's in that spot.
Yeah. Oh, one more thing about the high rollers and stuff that are being stoic. They also have more impetus to do that because they are playing almost all their hands on film, right? Even when they're not on the featured table, there's B-roll going on. There's cameras around their tables, right? Because of that, their opponents have the ability to watch backhands and look for things. So there's added value to trying to become stoic and like maintain and be consciously maintaining a stoic pose, because your opponents can do R&D on you. That's not the case for most of us, unless you're on like a random feature table. Like you make a final table, well, the way you're playing there is way differently than it will be at a normal table anyway. If you're in the main event and you happen to be on the feature, I feel bad for guys like that get drawn to the it's not quite random. I think Chance put out something last year about how he felt that his pull to the feature table was not random. The one where he busts a rig, the ace king versus aces, where like he shouldn't even have been pulled to that table. It wasn't random. That like, he kind of felt like it was not random that he got pulled there. But like a guy like that is going to be on the feature table a lot, and so now like if I have to play with him later in the tournament, I actually do get to go back to Poker Go and watch exactly how he's playing this week, right? Like, because how he's playing this way and if exactly what kind of tells he's giving off this week, which might be different, if any. I'm not saying that I have some tells on chance or anything like that, but like you do give your potential future opponents unfair or like unwarranted extra access to intelligence on you if you want to take it.
This is Vogel's thing, by the way.
He's got mirrored ones this time, but like it's when they do ones. He's got mirrored.
And I wonder if this hoodie comes like that, or he has them like customized for him to hide the mouth.
I've never thought of that, but yeah, that is a weird feature for a hoodie, isn't it?
It is. I think Ali Najad touched on the subject once, and he said he might have them customized for him. It's better than putting your hand, you know. It just comes.
I've never ever even thought about that feature of the hoodie being random, but until you pointed it out, it's never even crossed my mind that that's not normal.
By the way, I watched this final table, and Fedor won this event, and he ran like God. I mean, he was making trips, sets, flushes, and getting paid every time. He ran over this whole table. When he runs good, he runs good. It's amazing. It's almost scary. One thing I was going to ask, when you're on camera, are you like double thinking about how you're being perceived on camera? Is that in the back of your mind, or you're comfortable? You're just doing your own thing?
I don't think you should deviate at all, other than realizing everyone else is going to deviate. In other words, like you shouldn't change the way you play except as adjustments to how you think they will. And one of those things is like, you probably shouldn't go as thin for value, because people are not going to hero call as much when they'll look stupid if they're wrong, right? So like that thin value bet just doesn't have the targets it usually does. That being said, I think a lot of good players want to go for thin value to look sexy on stream, right? Like, so like it might be good to, even though I'm like an ape for thin value, I would probably dial back the thin value on the stream and dial up the bluffs for the same reason, which is like they're less likely to call off because they don't want to look stupid if they're wrong, right? And this is especially when you can couple it with live tells, like where you know that they have like, there's another one, like your live tells might not be as reliable because they might be nervous just about being on camera. It might have nothing to do with their hand. Things like that, I guess.
We talked a little bit about the Vegas grind, but we cut it off. So you said you stay with the 4 or 5 guys in the stable in the same apartment or same house.
Yeah.
Talk about what events, like value events, for somebody that's coming out there first year. Let's talk about the value events on the Horseshoe Paris, like the WSOP, and what side events you think have value. Venetian, Aria, Win. What events are you playing on the side, and what events you never miss in the WSOP?
The can't miss WSOP tournaments are the main event, the Millionaire Maker. I'm not going to say the Monster Stack. You can skip that shit. Like, should you probably play it? Maybe. Like, I will definitely.
Why you don't like the Monster Stack? I always make a deep run. I finished, I think, 41st last year out of 10,000 people. I love the Monster.
I dislike the tournament. It's that tournament suffers. It's a case in point, good example that still exists since they haven't changed the structures, so you can still have apple to apple comparisons. That where more chips is bad. When you start with too many chips in a tournament, what happens is the mini main is another one. You can just skip that piece of shit tournament. It's like you start with too many chips in the blind level. Like in the mini main, like the main starts with the same amount of chips, but it has 2-hour levels. When you start with too many chips, what happens is the field doesn't atrophy as the blinds go up. So the average stack stays similar because the field is busting too slowly. while the blinds go up. So the big blinds, the average stack in blinds gets very shallow very quick. Like in the mini main by like level 10, the average stack's sub 20, right? So
interesting concept, and it's true. It actually applies. Yes.
well, and the game runners' excuse for this is recreational players want more chips. They want to play deeper. Here's the thing: I've never ever heard a recreational player complain about too little chips in the starting levels. When I hear them complain about shallow play, it's when it's their turn to make the final two tables, when they ran hot to get here, and now we're playing jam. Like, why are we? I get this deep, and now I'm playing, but it's a flip fest because everybody's short. Everybody's sub 25 blinds. The chip leader has 24 big blinds. That's why, if you want to look at the monster stack, look at the monster stack FT versus the millionaire maker FT. They both have hour levels. One starts with 60,000 chips or 50,000 chips. The other one starts with 25.
Monster 50. Yeah, the other one is 20.
I think the million maker is 30, but it might be 25K. They both have hour levels. They both have the exact same structure. I think the millionaire maker starts at 100 100. I think so. It might start like at 100 100 instead of 100 200. But still, if you look at the end games, the millionaire maker that started with like less than half the chips just plays way fucking deeper.
Way deeper. Yeah, and because the bust outs, like you said, when the bust outs happen quicker, the average stack is going to be higher. When the bust outs,
would you rather have play at the beginning when the chips aren't worth anything, or at the end when we're playing for $1 million?
It matters.
You know what I mean? Like, I would much rather play. I would rather the times I run deep, I have a lot of play, and have time to fold hands and let these idiots bust themselves. Like when they're playing, because one of the things people don't understand is when you make the end game, right? A lot of your profit comes from people busting unnecessarily, right? The deeper you are, it seems like, well, they wouldn't bust as much. But actually, the spots they bust in are more unnecessary, right? So, like, you see people, like, when they had sub 20, getting it in thin isn't as big a mistake as when they have 35, right? So, like, the magnitude of the punt is bigger, which means the amount of money you're making is more. Like the amount that they're giving up to the field by overplaying spots late is worth more when the stacks are deeper. Yeah. So
what's the stack size that you're comfortable with? The one stack size that you play perfectly mistake-free, if there's such a thing.
I don't think mistake-free should be a thing in poker. GTO is supposedly mistake-free. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's in theory unexploitable. No one who knows what they're doing is going to play GTO against a fish because you make more money by playing exploitively, but by definition, playing exploitively is playing exploitably. Also, you are making mistakes, but you're trading those mistakes for bigger mistakes on average from the field, right? I definitely think I have early game figured out. The amount of stacks I've built lately. I think you touched on this with on Facebook, like with the huge opens and stuff like that.
Let's talk about that. But what's the stack size that you're most comfortable with? Is it 50?
I'm certainly super, like, first of all, I don't think of stack sizes in blinds anymore. I think of stack sizes in terms of starting stacks, and the blinds is just a unit of minimum bet to me. Like, I think the concept of big blinds in tournaments is asinine. The only one thing it is good for, other than unit of measure,
it's just a metric. Like, you don't have to go deep in it. It's just a metric of measuring your stack. Like you can use with water, you can use ounces, you can use liters, but at the end of the day, you're just describing how much water is in this bottle. So whether it's big blinds or percentage of starting stack, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, whatever works for you, it's just a metric of sizing a stack. But we talked about, this is why this whole podcast came to be, is I posted a meme. Let's pull up the meme, actually. Let's pull up a meme. I love when I post a meme and it's for laughs and somebody
post something serious.
Normally fish will make a comment, like they start talking strategy, like, oh, we shouldn't do this, we should do that.
You got the same thing here. Fish started talking strategy.
The thing is, you're not a fish, but so your comment.
That's all relative to who you're talking to. There are plenty of really good players play better than me that would tell you I'm a fish.
This is another thing, is when I talk Hendemob, people will be like, oh, Hendemob is overrated. I never give shout out to Stephen Boomhauer, and this is we're gonna discuss this. Hand the mob is overrated. Yes, hand the mob has its job, just like credit score have its. Hand the mob was never meant to be for people's bottom line. It just shows total cashes. Like you're somebody with a hand the mob that you have 2 million on there. So your opinion is gonna have way more weight than somebody that has 10K on there.
Sure. Maybe. I'm not trying to be too modest here. I'm just saying that relative to some players, I would technically be a fish. Like it's like relative to the circuit, absolutely not. Relative to Vegas, maybe. I think I have some sauce to give those guys that they don't expect. The thing is, I actually made a post about this not too long ago. It's actually an interesting point when we're talking about fish or whatever. And one of the points I made was like when we first start playing, almost everybody wants this peer validation. Like deep down, we all want to be known and respected as a good player, so to speak, right? And I talked about how counterproductive that is. And I used like an easy example, like if you're known as good, you can't get in good private cash games. But there's even stuff that goes to the tournament scene like this, in that if I'm worse than you, right? Like let's say you're a super crusher Vegas player, right, or whatever, and you know who I am, like you're like, I've seen this guy in the news or whatever before, in the poker news, but like he's overrated, and he thinks he's better than he is. If that's your opinion of me, right, and you're playing against me, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm actually way worse than you, and you think I'm way worse than you, good read for you, and your adjustments will probably be good. But if I'm only a little worse than you in actuality, and you think I'm way worse than you, your adjustments to me are going to actually go across the line and make your strategy bad versus mine, right? So my argument is that, like, actually it's way harder to convince people that you're way better than you are than it is to convince them that you're way worse than you are, right? And either one of those bad adjustments is good, but one's way easier to achieve. And so like I've actually just realized, like, playing into the image, like being a little more volatile, being unpredictable has a lot of value against quote unquote good players.
I'm trying to find the meme. There it is.
Sorry, I think we lost Sid too.
Yeah, I'll text them in a little bit. So local casino reg, I like to register early for these bigger tournaments because you get much more play with deeper stacks. Then he pre-flop opens 16 big blinds, and this is when you make the comment about not measuring stacks with big blinds, and then that prompted the whole podcast. So you touched up on a subject that you don't open 2x or 3x early levels. So I don't know how deep you want to dive into that strategy, because you said online that you don't want to give off too much.
I don't want to give away too much of it.
Okay. But I mean, if we're sitting with you at the table, like, we're going to see that you're opening not a standard size. Like, what's the standard size for you, early levels?
I'm pretty open about saying what my size is. It's 5% of the average stack, which at the start of the tournament is 5% of the starting stack. So, for instance, at 100, 200 with 40K chips to start, I will open to 2,200, or I will limp. In Vegas, I will do the 5% thing, the 2,200, or I'll min. And the reason is that in Vegas, the min raises the limps get ISO too much in Vegas. They try too hard against it. And so like it's a little harder to maintain. Like I would argue that like limping caps people more than opening. I can quickly convince you of that. When you open on the circuit and you get like 3 callers, right? Versus when you limp and get 3 limps behind. In which situation is the field more capped? The field is more capped when you limped. And the reason
that's a good one.
Well, the reason is because when you open, these guys sometimes flat ace king offsuit behind you because they're scared. They flat nines, they flat ace queen suited behind you to the open. But if you limp, they will ISO those hands. They won't just limp behind with those hands. So when you limp and get the limp through, they are more capped than when you open and don't get 3-bet in soft fields. So limping is actually not only cheaper, it's more valuable. It achieves more.
What is your range looking like when you limp? So they're capped when you limp, but what is your range looking like when you limp? Is it capped also, or is it mixed?
Well, sure, aces are in the big open, right? Like I'm opening 2200 with aces, but like I'm not open. I'm limping kings. So
Wow.
I
And
mean,
that's from, and that's from any position. So you're limping kings and somebody opens, you're squeezing, or no, you're just flatting?
well, if it goes ISO me and then call,
Mm-hmm.
like typically happens, yeah, I'm back raising. But if it's like heads up, sometimes I'll call also, right? Like you you need to think about what you're trying to achieve. This is the thing is like people play tournaments as if we're playing poker, and we're not. We're not playing Texas Hold'em. We're playing something else disguised as Texas Hold'em. You're older like me. I'm not saying older, but like you're my age, right? You've played Clue before. Is the point? Some of these young guys haven't played that before. You played the board game.
No, but I like where you're going with this.
You've
And shout
you
out to Heather,
know
by the
what the
way.
board game
Do
Clue
you
is?
know Heather? Do you know Heather Lewis?
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Heather.
Shout out to Heather. We'll talk about this limping. Limping, it depends on who's doing it. If somebody, Heather, is doing it that only limps, like they don't have opens, and then they open only like the top 2% of range,
Yeah,
it's
that's
so
not good.
easy to play against than what David here is touching on. He's limping kings. Like
But
amateurs are never limping kings and aces, or they do the under the gun limp and then they squeeze. Like they limp under the gun and somebody squeezed the five bigs thinking they're isolating them, and then they
and they
jam like
spring the trap right then, right? So you capture
yeah,
five.
set the traps, and they don't want to be outdrawn, especially with like kings and queens, and it's like so obvious what they have. So limping has to be balanced, and we talk about balance. Balance against amateurs is not that important because they're not really like seeing what you're doing and trying to adjust. But having balance against good players, or else they're gonna run you over.
I
So
will
yes,
give a little trick to that though, and it's something to keep in mind.
mm-hmm.
You're usually at the table with a mix of both, of people who it's not important versus, and people who like. There's usually at least one reg at the table, especially in
That's
Vegas.
the
It can be a
beauty
couple
of
people at the
tournament
table.
poker. Not, I said it a couple days ago. Not every table is a new file. It's a new case, like that you need
Exactly.
to adjust, and that's the beauty of it. Knowing how to adjust in real time is the hardest part of poker, besides knowing the game. And I love what you touched up on, and you said it's the game is disguised as poker, but we're not playing poker. And Wayne Leonard touched up on it. He said something about like knowing how to make a run even without having cards. This basically doesn't. It's stopped being poker anymore. It's lasting longer in a tournament or making a run. He said something along these lines that
Yeah.
he can basically make a deep run without getting cards. So he's
Then
thinking. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I don't think we might be hitting at the same two different sides of the coin, kind of thing. I don't think we're saying exactly the same thing.
Well, I know exactly what you said. You said tournament poker is not actual hold'em. Like we're not playing poker.
Well, right, because the goal of poker is to win big blinds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
This is out of
I can
line.
address that. I can address that question in a second. Shout out to
Yeah,
Warren
for
and
sure.
all that. By the
For
way, I
sure.
just thought that let me wrap this thing up with the whole poker and Clue thing.
Yeah.
Clue is a board game. If anyone's ever played it, it's the one with like Colonel Mustard with the wrench in the library or whatever. That you start the game, you put 3 cards in an envelope, 1 murderer, 1 weapon, 1 room. You move around the board, and when you go into a room, you can guess 3 a murder or a weapon in a room, and you basically guess to another player. And if they have one of those cards in your hand, they show you the card, which lets you know it's not in the envelope, right? And the goal is to narrow down what 3 cards are in the envelope. And what I like to say is Clue is a card game disguised as a board game, and the card game is Go Fish. Clue, the board game Clue is Go Fish disguised as a board game. And what I like to say about tournament poker is a board game disguised as a card game. The card game is No Limit Texas Hold'em, but that's just the market that we're betting on, because the goal of the poker tournament is to win all the chips. We just happen to be betting on No Limit Hold'em hands to get the chips. We could be betting on rooster fights. We could be betting on, like the next number on the clock when we look up, whatever we want to gamble on. We happen to be using Texas Hold'em as the
You
medium
can
or
be
whatever.
betting on hantavirus too.
Hmm? Oh yeah, betting on hantavirus. Yeah, I hope that doesn't
What
come.
is going on with the Ebola and hantavirus? I mean, they're trying to keep you scared every single day. Like they
I'm
don't
glad
want
you
you to
said
leave
that
the house.
exactly like that. They're trying to keep it.
Iran, hantavirus, Ebola, like they need to calm down a little bit. Yeah, but anyway, so I had to mention hantavirus because it's yeah, but
The why I left LF Go, I didn't actually voluntarily leave. I got rightfully terminated from that group. I was in the group, and again, shout out to Juan and all those guys.
shout
Um,
out to
actually, that's
I
one of the
do
houses.
know
My
that
first, my
reason.
first. Huh?
Yeah, I do know that reason, David. As we
Yeah. So
spoke.
like as
You
a
can go ahead.
visible player, like as someone who has/had kind of a platform, like I was known, and so people would listen when I say stuff. When I would have my episodes where I would be kind of a negative person, negative energy or whatever like that, say some out of line shit, which again, not proud of everything. Um, not proud of everything I've done or said in the past. But it's not a
We've all
good
made
look.
mistakes.
It's
We've
not a
all made
good look for them. And so Juan made the decision that like, hey, I think this was when I was in the online app games or whatever, and I was like, when I actually got cut, it has something to do with like negative shit in chat or whatever like that. I was completely in agreement with him. It's probably a good decision on his part. So shout out to him. Me and him are cool. Like we've talked since and everything like that.
Yeah, Juan is good people for sure. Shout
Yeah.
out to Juan. Heather asks, what does your summer camp prep look like, Moses?
Build a schedule. I'll probably do that today, honestly. Like I've got a spreadsheet where I can go through, put the events for each day. I have a column for likelihood to play and a column for estimated reentry frequency for each flight, and it spits out a very accurate estimate of what my buy-ins are and what the loss will be on years I don't table something.
This spreadsheet is put together for your backer, or this is for you to kind of
It's for
know
me.
what?
It's for me. It does. It is cool. It's built two ways. It's built so that it displays if I wanted to sell action at markup. It breaks down the way that math works, and it breaks it down for the people buying action to look at what like they get a realistic picture. The way most people build a schedule is they go through an event by event. They give themselves like, oh, I'm on 2 shells for this flight, 2 shells for that flight, 2 shells for this flight. What ends up happening then is your package is bloated with a lot of overage that the buyer has to pay up front with the expectation that like they're going to get it back at the end. But now it's harder to sell your package because your package is way big. It's like 90% bigger than it needs to be usually. It's almost double usually. Whereas what mine does is like, oh, okay, like if I play a flight of this tournament today, the likelihood is 1 that I'm going to play it, and my reentry frequency is 0.7, right? So if it's a 1K, right, it's going to budget 1.7K for that tournament. But then I'm also going to bag it at some frequency, right? And when I bag it, I won't be playing the same tournament's flight the next day. So the likelihood to play on the next day goes down by the percentage that I am to bag. So let's say I'm like 10% to bag. Then the likelihood of the next flight is 0.9, and then it's still a 0.7 reentry frequency if I play, right? And then the third flight of the same tournament, I'm way less likely. I'm likely to have bagged one of those 2 flights, right? So like the likelihood to play by doing that, it gives you a really good estimate.
It gives you a picture, but you really can't dial it down because you don't know. The tournaments are so volatile. It's not like you can really pinpoint how many binds you're going to fire in a certain event. But you're saying you kind of like narrow it down a little
what
bit.
happens is over the course of my sheet is going to usually have 150 unique flights of it won't be 150 unique tournaments, but it's going to have 150 unique flights. Some of them are 1-day tournaments, so like that flight is the tournament. But like over the course of it, if I try my best as I build it, and it usually takes like a day and a half to build this schedule out, if I try my best to accurately gauge that entry frequency and reentry rate, the error across 150 will kind of conglomerate, and you'll be almost you'll yes, I'll be off here and there, but
I mean, if you're off, that's the thing. Like, if you're off, you just send the money back, and you make sure you mention that in the comments. Like, hey, this is the amount of binds I'm going to use, and if any unused money will be sent back. The hardest part is putting the schedule together because, like, when I try to do it, like you look at the WSOP schedule on certain dates, then you have to look at the win schedule, then you have to look at Venetian schedule. It's hard to put together. It's
Yeah,
not easy.
I have a so not my phone. I have a monitor. I have the big. I've got you on this big monitor, and then I have 2 monitors on either side. And what I do is I'll put the spreadsheet on the big center one, and I'll put Poker Atlas on both the small ones, so that I can mainly, because most of my actions can be split between the World Series and Win. I try to support Win as much as I can. I prio their 1 days over most of the bracelet events. Their 1 day 1Ks. But then
much value in the 1 days, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll have WSOP and Win on the opposite monitors, and I'll go through day by day, and I'll have the Venetian and the Aria pulled like on another tab. And if there's the must play stuff there, like the Orleans main, I think is like, you should not skip that 600. Most people shouldn't skip that 600. It's super soft. That's one of the few sub 1Ks that I think is like a mandatory play. Like I don't think $500 bracelet events are worth playing. I think that sub 1K, you should not want to like spread that over multiple days, because as a professional, your hourly rate suffers really bad.
It's a lotto ticket. Then Heather said, this is my first year selling action. Do you have any recommendations? And do you change quantity of buy-ins for guarantees?
You just need to realize guarantees are fake. Like, they're always going to make the guarantee, so that doesn't matter. It's not a real thing. There's not going to be an overlay. So
that is. See how pros look at guarantees? He's like, oh, it's not important. While amateurs, all their main focus is on the guarantee. Go ahead, Sid.
Yeah, I have a question for David. Maybe do you want to tell the audience, how do you deal with the time or the days when the World Series is not going so well? Let's say if for somebody who's planning to come, or it's not gonna be like rosy dozy all the days, right? Like some days it's
definitely not that.
I think you need to zoom out, and I'm going to zoom out and be more negative than that, but it's in a positive way. It's not going to be rosy most summers, right? One of the biggest things I see people do is they go out there and they start playing, and they're quote unquote running bad, right? And they get discouraged, and like you can almost see this emptiness in their eyes as they run to the rebuy cage, back and forth like a chicken with their head cut off or whatever. And the idea is like they're just trying to like change this luck or whatever like that. Here's the math. If you go out there and focus on bracelet events, on multi-day or on low buy-ins, but with quote unquote good structures, because this is the thing, everybody gets this wrong. They're like, I want a great structure. That's what I want to play. I don't want to play this turbo stuff or whatever, but they want to play low stakes for a good structure. All you're doing is killing your hourly rate, right? What you're doing is like, let's say you had 100% ROI in a $500 bracelet event. You don't, I don't either, right? Like it's like in a bracelet event, a 500 bracelet event, maybe I have 60% ROI. And the people, but no one with 60% ROI in a 500 is going to play it, right? No one wants to play that event when they can play a 1 day 1K at 20% ROI, right? And make $200 in a day instead of making $300 across 3 days, right? Like, and yeah, you're not always going to play 3 days in the 500, but you get my point. Is like your hourly goes way down when you play these good structures for low buy-ins. And but if you go out there and do that, and if you're not playing professional, if you're playing for the experience, more power to you. Like I go play the great structured 500. I'm not bashing it. But if you do that,
I think what Sid is asking is like, how are you staying mentally sane when things aren't going?
I'm getting there. I just need to explain what's going on here.
I love the point you made, though. You're making me want to change my schedule now between WSOP bracelet events and 1 day events.
And when Aria and Venetian 1K 1 days, 800.
Yeah, 100%. I learned that with the years. Yeah.
Yeah. But if let's say most people who go out there, especially but most people who watch this who care, I tell you this, most professionals don't give a shit what I have to say, but most recreational players that would watch this and value what I have to say, I'm not saying it's bad if you want to go out there and play good structured events for low buy-ins. You're playing for a different reason. You make money in the real world for the most part, right? Like I don't make money in the real world, right? So I need to be focused on making money out there. But if you do, anybody who is focused on multi-day events, whether they're bracelet events or not, when you're playing tournaments that have like 2 starting flights or more, and then there's a day 2 and a day 3 and things like that, the most amount of shells you're going to get in across your 53 days or whatever there, like if you're there the whole time, you're going to get in like 45, 46 shells across 35 unique events. And this is assuming you're also playing the main event, the 10K main, and maybe the 10K win main event. Like, so maybe you have 2 10Ks sprinkled in there. Maybe you don't. But you're going to play 45 shells across 35 unique flights, right? Some of those flights are going to be, you played 2 flights of the same tournament, but 45 shells across 35 unique flights. That's usually the max you're going to get in.
Accurate. Yeah.
Okay. So, well, let's think about this. Let's say you have a 20% in the money frequency, right? Which is too high. Like, that's way too high. Like in a 15% payout field, and then the win stuff is 12%. If you're in the money 20%, you're, unless you did that by running hot, like, but if your strategy is that you min cash too often, that's bad. But let's say, just for the sake of math, let's say you cash 20% of your shells, right? Okay. Well, you're going to have 8 or 9 caches, right? Across 45 shells. And then every time you don't, every time one of those caches at least isn't a final table or a final 2 table in a 5,000 person field or whatever, every time you don't have a super deep run in a large field, you are going to, on average, make a little more than 2 buy-ins per min cache, right? Let's be generous and call that, let's say your average, let's say you have 7 or 8 caches and they're all for 3 buy-ins when you don't final table something. Okay. So you got a bigger than average min cache distribution. 8 times 3 is 24 buy-ins back from your caches, right? You spent 45 shells, take away the 23, and that's like your best case scenario, right? And you're down 22 buy-ins, right? You're down 22 buy-ins for the summer out of your 45 every time you don't make a deep run. And that's your best case scenario. Okay. So you were supposed to lose half your money, right? And when it's like more like your min caches are 2 buy-ins, now it's 8 times 2, 16 minus the 45. So now you're like 25, 29 buy-ins down of your 45, like almost 70% of your buy-ins. Here's the thing. That's what's supposed to happen. Almost every summer, you're supposed to lose 50 to 70% of your buy-ins when you're playing these large field tournaments. Almost every summer. And that's when you're winning. That's when you're playing well and you're profitable in the field. You're supposed to lose most summers. So the best advice I could have is when you go out there, just know that that's normal and don't let it affect you mentally. When I go out there, I'm looking at it like it's cool. The summer is like the most office-like environment you can have for tournament poker. You get to wake up in the same city every day, don't have to travel there except once, right? Once at the beginning, leave at the end. And like every day you get up and leave the house, you can win 50K. And every day you're playing in a tournament that's going to be almost double your average buy-in on the circuit. Like if you're playing professionally, your average buy-in on the circuit's like $920. Your average buy-in at the series is going to be between $1,400 and $1,800, depending on your schedule, if you're playing the 10Ks. If you're playing the main and the win main, just those 2 10Ks. So you're getting to play for a bigger average buy-in every day. And not only that, if you, whereas normally you only get to play that above 1K tournament on the circuit, on the main and on the 2 high rollers, most circuit stops have, like they usually have a 1K and a 2K. Other than that, everything's 400s. You go out there in Vegas, every day I go out there, I get to play, there's multiple 1K plus options every single day. And if I bust this one, there's a great plan B. There's always, like, the Win has a 6 p.m. 1K turbo every night that first place plays 50K, like every single night, pretty much, when they're not running a reentry event. And in most days, they have a 1K that started at noon, where if you bust your bracelet event, instead of re-entering that late reg, you can just go fire that 1 day 1K, right? So the way I look at it is I have this environment where I can wake up, have my coffee, eat my eggs, meditate, get in an Uber. You asked about Ubers, by the way. Always Uber. People can't drive in Vegas. Don't rent a car, in my opinion. But go to work. Go to the strip. The whole strip is your the casinos on the strip are my office, right? And so I go to my office and I work. And when I busted the main event with aces on the first hand. Did not use me in the fucking least. Like I went right across the street and entered a 1600 at the Venetian. Like
that hand it got viral on Poker News.
Sorry for the long. It's a long answer, but the basic thing is expect to lose. Expect to understand that the way Vegas works during the summer, your goal is to make $1 million a decade out there. Your goal is to make $100K worth of is to make 100K a summer, but it's going to come in the form of usually losing, and then a couple years you're going to win 600K like that. You're going to win your money back plus some, right? That's the way
How you avoid burnouts and keep a level head in Vegas, because we know David going out on day 1, you're playing your A game on day 28, like end of June, right before the main, you're playing a completely different game. How you're avoiding burnout and keeping a level head?
I think the thing that you can't be burned out by losing standard spots, right?
Not just losing, the whole experience, the casino vibe. You're in the
just the wear and tear on your mental.
The wear and tear, the repetition. You eat, sleep, grind every single day, and you're trying to bring your best every time. We know tournaments, to win tournaments, you can't bring your C game and win a tournament unless you're like running it or holds, which is not going to happen that often. Or
yeah, I had a friend that made a schedule, and I'm not going to say names, but he if he's listening to this, he knows who he is. He texted me his schedule, and like he had 4 days off in the middle of the summer, and I'm like, why'd you take 4 days off? And he was like, well, I just figured it'd be best to like regroup and everything like that. And maybe what I would suggest has to do with what you just said, is that like we shouldn't be playing our C game at any Vegas tournament, right? Like you cannot afford to be doing that, right? Your C game
but some days, yesterday, for example, I played my C game in 2 events. I played Tampa Hard Rock single day, C game. Everything was getting on my nerves, and I'm not that guy. I have high tolerance to like bullshit. And us tournaments have that mentality. We take losses very well. We have a thick skin. Like to make it in tournament poker, you gotta be mentally like a rock. You can't make it in tournament poker. Like I say it every time. Like most tournament poker players, like exclusive tournaments, like they don't play cash in tournaments and dabble in PLO and play in the pits. They play tournaments, and to make it in tournament poker, you gotta have thick skin, and you gotta tolerate loss. So for me to show up, and I don't know why I brought my C game yesterday. Like everything was getting on my nerves. I was playing, making mistakes left and right. Things weren't lined up. I wasn't in the flow state. And some days, without even trying, I sit down. I know from the beginning I'm winning that tournament. Like you cannot beat. I'm very hard to beat. I'm check raising with air. I'm making your life miserable. I'm calling off with like ace highs and king highs, sometimes jack high, and it's correct. Everything is lined up, and I'm playing, flow state. To be like that in Vegas, here I have my routine. I'm sleeping in my bed, eating, working out, doing everything. In Vegas, it's hard to do, being in flow state with everything going on. There's so much distractions, so many sensory overload, people walking around. That energy when you walk into the ballroom and there's like over 2,000, 3,000 people in one room, some people can't even tolerate that. So how are you you're bringing your A game every time? Go ahead, Sid. Go ahead.
I would just, just on top of what Carl said, I was just saying that you can't ignore the summer heat, because that takes it to.
A lot of people talk about that, like saying stay hydrated, this and that. Like we're not playing in the desert. We're playing in air conditioning inside. Yeah, it's dry, but it's not like when I was in Afghanistan being in the summer outside. Like you're inside, air conditioned. It's a controlled environment. You don't need to stay hydrated. Yeah, drink water just like you do here in Florida. It's not that extreme. But the heat, I like some the Vegas heat. It's hot, but you don't sweat. It's not like Florida. It's not. Yeah. I like it actually. It's not that big of a deal. But yeah, David, tell us how you keep your are you playing your A game by day 30, for example?
Yes. But I want to come back. I'm going to answer it by saying something to what you said about you playing your C game yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
You absolutely should go to the Tampa casino and play when you're playing your C game, because your C game crushes those motherfuckers, right? So there's nothing wrong with playing your C game, right? Are you winning less that day than you should? Sure, but you're still making money. In Vegas, you come with your B- game and playing a 1K plus tournament, you are losing in the field. Like you're just losing. You're not making money. You're just literally just torching money. So when I say by day 30 I'm playing my A game, I don't mean I'm on my A game every day. I mean those are the days I'm going to take off, right? The day that I'm not feeling it is the day I stay at the Airbnb, right? And maybe I play an online bracelet event from the pool that day for fucking shits and giggles. I've done that, right? But like, I'm not going to go fire $5,000 worth of 1K shells on a day where I feel like not even a C. Like if I'm at less than B plus to start the day, don't go. Or if you get there, some days you don't know that you're off your game until you get there and play the first event.
That's right.
That's when you play that first event, if you're off your game, first of all, I will give myself, if I know I'm playing bad, if I know that I'm not my top form, I give myself two options. One is, since I'm aware of it, I can try to snap out of it, right? But sometimes you know you're not going to be able to snap out of it. Yesterday sounded like
sometimes
a day.
You can. I tried yesterday. You can. I did some things to reset, but it wouldn't happen. It just wouldn't.
So on that day, when that happens to me, one, I know if I bust this tournament, I'm not going to enter the next one. I'm just going to go to the house, right?
See, that's discipline. You have discipline. Some people have FOMO and they want to jump back in thinking like they can
part
change.
B of this, part B of this is counterintuitive to what you're probably thinking I'm going to say. The next thing, if I know that I'm not going to snap out, that if I'm like, it just feels like it's not there, right? I actually know one of the things that will snap me out of it, and that's running up a big stack. And it's not because like I'm sad that I don't have a big stack. It's just that I know something on my brain turns different when I have more utility. And because now, if I triple that stack, I don't have like. It's almost like my ethics won't allow me to misplay it now, right? So what I'll do is I'll be like, all right, well, if you're done with this shell, you're done for the day. But I'm gonna gamble my dick off with that. We might have to cut it. I just in case you have to cut that. I don't know what you else. I'm gonna play hyper aggro, hyper high volatility with that to give myself, because if I'm gonna be done for the day, I want the maximum amount of day off, right? So I'm gonna be out quicker than I would be normally, right? And if I'm gonna run, if I'm playing volatile, because I know that if I run it up, something will shift in my synapses in my brain, and I will snap out of it and play A plus. Like I know that'll happen. Not only that, the future game involved in that, because if I'm gambling like that and playing quote unquote bad, so to speak, I already know that the math isn't as against me as it looks. It's not as torch as most people think it is. Come back to that in a second. But like, the times I spin it up and completely shift how I'm playing, I get to play with the table image of before of the wild man, right? Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. We're at the 2 hour 20 mark. This podcast went like it's nothing. 2 hours went by like it's 30 minutes. Let's watch this hand with Leo Margets I have set up against Grinder Mizrachi and discuss a little bit, and we wrap this session up. Let me share the screen here real quick.
Yeah, it's a lot in here. Was the air conditioning set? My son was telling me it was hot in here. I did kind of notice that.
50 big blinds. Wow. Like a millionaire.
Okay, I'll deal with it in a minute. I'm doing this, bud.
Or do you want to remove the comments section here for this video?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
It tilts me so bad that they're not using 4-color on the
3-bet from Michael, who can definitely be doing it with a very wide range.
So he goes like 4.5 here. Let's say 4.25. He goes 4.25 blinds.
Yeah, but thank you. A bit more than me.
So she goes less than 3x?
She goes 2x. Blinds are 300K, right? So she goes 600K. He
goes 600.
He goes to 1.3, which is like 1.32, right? So it's like,
okay, so 2.1.
So he goes to like less than 4.5 blinds, right?
Yeah, just the main.
And if you watch this, like I was out there the whole summer, right? I'm watching Poker Go replays at night, at the Airbnb. if you watch this guy like play, he does this small 3-bets. They're never strong, ever. He's completely imbalanced with it. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not slighting him, because it's only bad if they punish you for it. And if they're going to let you do that, and
he knows Leo's not going to punish him for it.
Exactly. So I'm not saying it's bad, but what I'm saying is, if we're talking about how she should play the hand versus how she did, right? So she calls here. I would have 4-bet small. I would have probably, what are they? She has 13. Yeah, I would have probably went 3 million here. That's about what I would have done, which is 10 bluffs.
So what is your 4-betting range looking like here? Like, where are the bluffs? Where are the value?
I think this is the start of this is value. I think 8s probably shouldn't do it, just because you're gonna, when you 4-bet small, you're gonna force all these continues from like the regions that the 9 dominates, but the 8 doesn't, and that being the region that has a 9 in it itself. So when he has like King 9-0, he did this. When he has like Ace 9 suited, he did this. When he has 9-10 suited, or 9-Jack suited, or Queen 9 suited, and he did this, right? When we 4-bet small, we force those hands to continue, right? Because we're laying them a great price in position. And we're making them make a mistake when we have the 9s, because we dominate them. They actually only have 3 live outs. When we have 8s and we make the 9x continue, we didn't induce a mistake, like if they could see our hand. So like, I think 8 shouldn't 4-bet, but 9 should be the start. 10s plus certainly should be 4-betting. If you want to have traps here, do it with ace and king.
The population is not using this 4-bet range at all, not even close.
And isn't this hand of the WSOP main event?
I think we're, wait a minute. I want to be clear, Carl. I think we're talking about the hand from 2 different directions. I think you're talking about it from the line of like, why what he did is fine because she's not going to do this, and you're right. I'm talking about it from the line of how you need to play to not make what he's doing great, right? Because what he's doing is great if you don't play back at him, right? If you don't go for thin, like 9s is thin value, 10s is thick, like 9s and 10s actually. When you see he has Ace-7 suited here, which is just a call, that's what his hand should be doing. What especially if he covers in position. Like, one of the things you get to do a lot at this stage of the tournament, not at the final table, but like as the covering stat, is you get to call in position a lot. When he's taking hands that could easily call in position and 3-betting himself, the reason we don't 3-bet those hands is because it's a disaster to get 4-bet and have to fold them. If he's going to linearly 3-bet, the way you punish him is to linearly 4-bet and make him fold this equity that he risks. The reason it's good is because people don't make you fold your equity. That's why you need to 4-bet to make him fold his equity.
Yeah, but she'll be making him fold worse. That's the thing. We don't want to make.
What's he going to fold that's worse?
Ace-7, for example, in that spot.
Yeah, but Ace-7 is going to get to over-realize it's. You have to think about how this hand plays post when you're out of position too. I would rather.
In that spot with 40 people in the main, you don't want to play a bloated pot against the Mizrachi, a maniac. You know what I mean? You don't want to play in his.
You don't have an option. That's the whole reason what he's doing works, is because people play from a place of fear, right? I don't want to do this uncomfortable thing. I don't want to face tough decisions. Poker is a game of making decisions. All of the edge boils down to making decisions better than the other person, better than the field.
Yeah, I understand. I understand that in a vacuum. I don't understand that with 40 people left in the main event. People just don't have the heart to start 4-betting 8s and 9s.
And then they'll get run over. Then this is what happens to them. This is case in point of what happens when you don't have the heart.
Here she did get run over 100%. But let's watch the hand. What you say applies 100%. I'm not saying it doesn't apply. It's not.
Carl, is this 40 people remaining, or is this the final?
But 3 or 4 tables left in the main. Yes.
Not to take anything away from Leo either, by the way. I played with her. She's really good.
Yeah, her thought process is valid for sure.
725 into 3.4 million. He bets 1/5. I have second pair. I have a club. I could raise for protection against such a small bet.
Can you pause it real quick for a second?
Yep.
What she just said right there, I can raise for protection, right? That's absolutely true right here. Because when he has a hand like King, Jack, O, no club, Leo is not Leo is on. I just saw Heather's comment. Leo is not
Agree
shy
with
about
Heather.
3-4 betting, but this is day 5 of the main, and almost anybody is going to clam up. And what me and Carl are talking about is like, I actually think you need to push through that, and despite your wanting to not, because also people are thinking, this goes back to playing on TV, what you were talking about earlier, is if I get it in and he has me beat right here, it's going to look like a total fucking punt. You can't care about that.
That was my next thing. Yeah, but it's not that easy. You never want to get out with 40 people left in the main, and people say that you punted with 9s, when you had like 40 something bigs.
Who are these people? These people don't pay my bills.
The whole internet.
Right. Yeah, you can't care about what people on the internet think.
It's not that easy saying you don't care. I'm put so much weight into this, but with 40 people in the main, you're not playing a daily at Hard Rock. Maybe a daily at Hard Rock, you start 4-betting 8s and 9s. And in the main event against Mizrachi with 40 people left, you got to play a little bit more careful. There's so much money on the line to be. I'm not going to say reckless. It's theoretically sound to do what you're saying, to play against Mizrachi in that manner. I don't see Leo doing it. You don't see many 4-bets in the main from that point on. You see a lot of 3-bets.
I completely agree with you, which is why what he's doing works really well. His strategy is dominant in this
100%,
field because everyone else's strategy doesn't have all their weapons. They're leaving weapons in their pockets because they're scared of volatility. They're scared of this one spot. Here's how you need to think about this spot, right? You need to think about this spot deep in the main, not just this hand, right? If you go deep in the main event, right, you don't, or any big tournament, when you're deep in a big tournament, if your mindset is, wow, like this is such a big spot, I don't want to fuck it up. That's not how I think about the game. I think about the game like, I'm going to be in these spots way more often than my fair share. I'm going to punt more chip leads than most people ever have in their life. That's the way you need to think about it, in my opinion, is like, trust yourself to get to these opportunities more than population does, and then play to maximize it. Don't play them from a place of fear. I think people get there and they put the cart before the horse, the chicken, like they become a slave to the spot.
Not being afraid to die is how you win tournaments. Not being afraid to die is what gives you an edge in a tournament.
Exactly. So here,
in a big spot like this, the biggest spot of her life, it is hard to pull the trigger. It's easier said than done. You might do it in her shoes, start 4-betting, playing back at Mizrachi, but I don't think it's optimal, especially him being to your left. He's not going to make your life easier if he thinks you're playing back at him.
I'm not playing to make my life easier. I'm playing to make money. I don't care how hard it is.
I agree.
It's right. Like, again, like it's one of those things. But when she even mentions it here in her Mind of the Pro thing, I don't know if she thought about it. Now, this Mind of the Pro thing is filmed now or after the fact, right? When she's had time to talk about the hand. And I'm sure someone, like, so she might not have, I'm not trying to take anything away from her. She may or may not have thought about raising 9s on the flop in game, but certainly somebody has brought up to her that she could raise small here. You don't need to raise big. What did he bet? He bet like 725, and he bet like less than a quarter pot, like 20% pot. So like all you need to do is raise this thing to like 1.6 million, right? Like very small, 1.6, 1.8, right? If he continues, right? Like, what does he need to do to punish that, to not make that a good play? He needs to float you anyway with something like King Jack O, no club, right? That's what he needs to do. He's probably not going to peel that. He's probably going to realize you have all the sets in range, right? And he doesn't. Here's the thing. He's not 3-betting you with 4s and deuces pre-flop. He's going to call those. So you have all the sets in range and he doesn't, right? He's probably going to call 10s at some point.
You can totally check raise the spot and it will work high percentage of the time.
Yeah, it's easy to say when we're sitting here looking at ace-7. No, like, does it not show his hand yet? He has ace-7 diamonds.
It doesn't show his hand. All he says at the end is, "Don't look at the stream."
Yeah, he has ace-7 of diamonds, and so like it's easy to say it'll work when you can see his hand or know that his hand is ace high, 1 over, no backdoors here, which he's going to fold to the small raise. But here's the thing. His overall strategy and his logic is very sound. He's only betting hands that have easy decisions versus raises, right? So like he's betting hands that don't mind folding to the raise because the reason for the bet is just to cap you further so he can bluff you some more, right? So if you're not going to, if you know that he's not betting pocket 8s here, right? He's just not. And he's not betting like he's not betting probably ace 5 of hearts because it's
He's
kind of
sometimes betting pocket eights again to deny equity from hands like Jack 10 suited, King Queen,
he's
King
probably
Jack.
not 3-betting the eights pre-flop. He's probably calling those hands because
Not 3-betting eights.
it's a disaster for him to get 4-bet by her because he has to fold pre-flop or he has to call and set mine, right? So he's not going to pre-flop and on this flop. He's not using these small, weak sizes with hands that have tough decisions. And when if she raises here, this is a concept people don't understand. Like, I'm not just raising from protection against your actual hand having equity against me. I'm raising I'm raising to deny you the opportunity to use the board against me in the future, right? Right now, the board isn't that bad for my hand, and I'm usually going to win immediately when I raise anyway. But if I call, on average, this board gets worse for nines, right? On average, a club or an overcard does come, right? Or even like if a 3 or 5 appear on the board, now his ace-x bluffs pick up more equity, right? Whereas right now we can fold out. Like if a 3 or 5 comes, ace-7 picks up a lot of equity, right? So like now it can win with a wheel card, right? But most importantly, I'm trying to avoid the spot where like he gets to make me fold because the board is so bad for my hand, right? So he's not just drawing to actually beat me, he's drawing to bad boards for me, and there's a lot of them. So you're denying him the benefit of a bad board by raising. Yeah. That's why we don't mind him holding out actual low equity holdings. Yes, his hand has low equity, but the future he has high equity in the board coming bad for us. So you're protecting against a spot more than a hand. Does that make sense? I think that's a concept a lot of people don't get.
Makes total sense.
Okay.
Can we also discuss on the turn? Let's say, how do you proceed on the turn? Let's say if we check raise to what David was mentioning. Let's say if we check raise to 1.6 or
she evaluates on the turn. It depends
if he check raises and he calls. If we check raise here and he calls, we're checking most turns. This is another thing. You're not required to keep betting just because you check raised, right? You know what I mean? We're allowed to, we have new information now, right? He's not calling hands.
That's the mistake that amateurs make, is when they 3-bet the spot, they don't know how to slow down on some runouts. And that's when they start torching chips.
Ace comes. They feel like they need to bet now because, God, if I check, I won't know if he's just betting because it's an ace. Well, no, he has a lot of ace-x in range when he calls. It won't be ace-7 of diamonds, but like ace-5 suited of all suits is going to peel this small because it has an immediate wheel draw, right? Ace-3 also, immediate wheel draw. Those hands are going to appeal even if they don't have the suits, right? But like ace jack of hearts, if he 3-bet that, he probably isn't even 3-betting ace jack of hearts pre-flop because it's too bad. It's the same thing as eights. If you get 4-bet pre, it sucks, right? So he's probably just calling that, but he's going to have the offsuit ace jack. He's going to have the offsuit king jack. And so like those hands all have to fold to the check raise, or they should. And so if I'm her and I 3-bet small here and he calls, now you reevaluate, you have new information, okay? Like, okay, he might have some 10x, he might have some jack x, right? But like right now he's got this whole range of hands he could have, right? Now, right now, what if it comes runner heart from here and we didn't check raise, right? Well, he still has all the heart draws, but he also has all these random cards with 1 heart, and he's going to use them to bluff you, right? If we check raise here and he calls and it comes running hearts, well, a lot of his peels are backdoor heart draws. We have an easier time comfortably folding on future streets if it comes heart, right? If we check.
Guys, let's finish the hand.
All right.
Well, precisely with the club, I think I can call since there are turns where I can continue.
Definitely has a continue. She cannot fold.
Of course.
Okay.
Not to that sizing and not to a single bet.
All right. So now pot's like 4.5, right?
Yes.
Almost 5.
This turn is pretty good. It helps me quite a bit. I don't know if I could donk bet.
I think this helps her quite a bit, but I actually think it's quite bad.
Well, check calling is definitely not a bad line.
Picks up more equity.
Plus, you can check sometimes. That would be ideal, but well, it's my call. And that gesture tells me he's not going to check. Oof, but what a sizing again. 1/3?
Yeah, again, all right.
Even though he bets small, I think I'm up against a range full.
Okay. His size here is good, even though it's small.
I don't know. Is it good? Are you ever doing that with value, like with flushes, with overpairs? Are you betting third again?
If you're going to bet, it has to be small because because both of you have flushes in range, and it's important that both of you have flushes in range because now your overpairs are less valuable because you have flushes, you have better hands, right? But the real reason you have to bet small is because both of you are uncapped to flushes, right? Both of you can have a flush, and so his size on the turn is good. She has a mandatory continue. At this point, she can't check raise nines anymore, right? Because she has better hands in range. Now protecting nines isn't that important.
Yeah, raising nines here would be
on the turn.
There's no need to raise nines here with the one club.
And then this shove just doesn't make it. And also, did you notice how quick he did it? Like snap shove river when a king got there.
He bets how much? That's 10 mil and he bets pot.
Yeah, okay. He set up pot, but like, here's the thing, like, the king is not a scare card because the king is not some new overcard that beats you. He's not shoving a king for value. He's not capable. Well, he's capable, but like he's not retarded. Like you wouldn't shove a king. You're not going to get called by worse. Right? You wouldn't shove ace king with ace of clubs here for value. You would not do that, right? If anything,
he's basically repping sets, flushes.
Would you shove a set here?
It's not a king, huh?
Would you shove a set here?
I mean, sometimes, as played, the check call line is not
like if he has kings, half of the sets of kings don't have the club in them. So like he probably wouldn't have bet kings without a club on the turn, right? So like. And if he has a set of tens, right? If he has a set of tens, did he risk getting jammed on in the turn when he reopened? Probably not. Like, he gets so polarized here by the end that he's saying, like, I have the nut flush. That's what he's saying, is I have the nut flush. Because, like, what else is he doing this with across 3 streets, right? Like, I think you do have to at least stop and consider calling here when he shoves river. Like, do I end up making the call? Probably not. Probably I would have played the hand differently. I like to think I would have played the hand differently at least. But like
in her shoes,
I at least would think about it because the 9 of clubs blocks a lot of his potential flushes that would have taken this line, right? Like
not really. You want to have a queen of club or a king of club. Not the 9 of club doesn't block much because he has the queen jack of club, king queen of club, ace x of club. She's not blocking any of the value hands. You need to have,
wait a second. The 9, her hand unblocks where the bluff should come from. He's doing some nonsense here. Well, using it. I mean, when I say that I'm not attacking him, I'm saying his hand doesn't matter because she's overfolding like by a lot. But but what I'm saying is if you were in theory going to have a good bluff here, it needs to come like what he should have in this line that would bluff is things like ace of club, jack O, is things like jack queen O with a club, right? You don't want to have the high club because you need him. His bluffs should be offsuit with a club, and they should be like.
She even told him that. She tells him the same thing at the end of the hand. She's like, "Oh, you're doing this with the ace of club or king of club. Here, let's hear." And
but he wouldn't. It's not going to be a hand that has the king in it because the king is not going to bluff the river.
Not with the king. Yeah, ace of club maybe, but listen.
Ace of club jack. Ace of clubs.
I mean, I don't regret the fold.
Queen jack O with a club. Well, I'm saying the 9 of clubs is a better club to have than the jack or the queen because you want him to have the offsuit Broadway things because you gotta remember whatever he got here with had to 3-bet you in triple barrel. He 3-bet pre and a triple barrel, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of this is the other thing. A lot of the suited ace-x that would have the nut flush right here didn't 3-bet you pre for the same reason the ace-jack suited didn't, the 8s didn't. It doesn't want to get 4-bet off its equity pre. So a lot of his nut flushes didn't 3-bet pre. Like it actually narrows down to like you need him to have like ace queen of clubs, ace king of clubs.
Yeah, nut flushes didn't 3-bet. I mean, he can 3-bet ace 3 clubs, ace 5 of clubs, ace 6 of clubs, all the suited ace x of clubs. He could have 3-bet pre.
He certainly can with a lot. Oh, clearly he has ace 7 of diamonds, so he can have nut flush. He can have the club version too, right? But
Heather said women tend to never 4-bet. I have found a lot of success in women tournaments, 3-betting and 4-betting. Well said. Yeah, aggression, just aggression in general. She folded way too quick. His immediate jam after the small raise on the turn immediately throws red flags. His immediate jam. Ah, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. The immediacy of it is like when you have value. Let's say he was value betting with something like aces, right?
He's never snap jamming like that. He will think about it for a second about the sizing at
and
least.
probably arrive at what his goal is to get called by a 10, right? If you have like aces here with the ace of clubs, right? So you're not going to get jammed on ever. If you have the aces with the ace of clubs here, she's never going to jam over a river bet, right? So if you I think that's a safe assumption. She's not even going to jam over his flush.
If who has aces? If she has aces?
No, if he has aces with the ace of clubs, like aces with the ace of clubs makes sense for this line. It's one of the few value hands that makes sense up until the river. And if he had it, when he got to the river, he wouldn't snap jam on the king because it makes it harder for a 10 to call that the king came. And aces with the ace of clubs would slow down and think, well, if I'm going to value bet, I'm targeting like a 10 or like maybe pocket nines with the 9 of clubs. He's going to bet super small and try to get called if he bets at all and reopens, right? So like he wouldn't snap jam. And even if he had the nut flush, when the king comes, he's not going to snap jam with it. He's going to think a little bit, because thinking a little bit, it actually makes your call equity go up. Like if you snap jam, the immediate logic of snap jamming is like, it looks like you're confident, right? Which is why this is like clearly a bluff, right? But like, it's just like, you're not going to snap jam this with value on this king. Even if you had the nut flush, you're going to stop and slow down about what do I want her to call me all in with, right? And if I want to go all in, what do I want her to call me with? Does she have enough hands that can call in? Well, she has to call in with a set. She has to call in with a flush. But
a set would at least raise at one street. He's gonna hear about a set that maybe actually turn the flush. Maybe a set would just call.
In a non-main event setting, the way I would think about the nut flush here, if I'm him and I have it, is I'm going to get all the money from her flushes anyway by betting and her jamming for value anyway. And I just like bet small and call. And the benefit of that is that when she doesn't have a flush and she has like a 10, then I want to get called by the 10. And the king made that harder. The king made me had this size down. Now in the main event, I don't think
what 10 does she has that she opened pre and call the raise?
I mean, she has a lot of hands. She has a lot of potential targets here. But like the most likely target by the river that will call a river bet if you're betting for value is 10x, right?
Most of her 10x are suited. It's never a 10x.
Sure. So she has 10 9 of diamonds available, 10 jack of diamonds. You know, she has like king 10 of diamonds, like that can call all in, right? But like what I'm saying is from his side, if he had value instead of a bluff, he would slow down on the king and think about
100%. With all his value, he's gonna slow down and think about his sizing and think about what she could have.
Exactly. And when he snap jams, it's just a big, like,
doesn't make sense at all. A value hand is always slowing down on the river, and I'm surprised he snap jams because he knows better. Like pros are never snap jam. Amateurs make that mistake all the time. They get to this point. I don't know what to do. Let me put max pressure, but they're not thinking about the action they're taking. Any value hand in that spot is going to stop and think about a sizing that she's going to call, at least get a tell from her, see if she's super strong or super weak. He looked at her on the turn to see how strong she, because Grinder is a shark. He can read people like a book. But yeah, the snap jam on the river didn't make sense for sure. Listen to his
she should have at least thought of calling the river. I wouldn't fault her for thinking about it then still folding. But like
100% she should have thought longer.
Her hands are really good bluff catcher.
Yeah, but does she have the cojones to make it happen? I don't know. Let's see his comment.
I'm gonna fold. What a... Oh, damn it. I regret folding so quickly.
She even said it.
I mean,
did
I
she
don't
say that out loud
fold.
at the table?
Yeah.
It's a...
No, not at the table, in the comment. And voiceover.
Don't look at the stream.
You bet this guy's lost his mind. What do you have?
Nines.
Nines are good.
Yeah.
With a clap.
So like I would just say, like
he says nines are good
on the circuit that are just blasters, right? And not take anything away from him, but like this is one of those things where you just, if he has it, he gets paid. Like that's the way you have to look at this, the whole just pay mentality. It's like
it's not that easy.
So unlikely. The whole line makes no sense, So if he took a nonsense line with value, here's the chips. Like, you know what I mean? In exchange is like, that's the thing about being that guy, as opposed to somebody that you can just always fold a set to here, right? Because there's people you can just always fold a set here. There's people you could fold a 10 high flush here too, right? Like, this guy ain't one of them.
A normal person, yes. An average Joe, yes. Not Mizrachi. Yeah. Like last time I played the main, river bets were nuts. I mean, like, I'm talking, I got coolered like three times in a row. Set over set, and I lost the minimum. Pocket eights. I open. I get 3-bet in position. I'm out of position. I just flat. Eights. Flop comes ace 7-8. Check. Turn is a 7. I make a house. Check. He bets. I just flat. It's a old man coffee over there. He's like 60-something years old. Never bluffing turn. I have a full house. Most people are going broke out of the main on hand. Like, it was level 3, I think. We're super deep. I make a house. I check. He bet. I call. River is a brick, like a 3. I check. He bets. I just call with a full house. He shows me ace. Ace.
Oh, wow.
Second time I flopped trips with I had king 9 off in the big. He opened. Call. I complete in the big blind. Flop is king 7. I didn't have king 9. I think I have king 9 off. King 7 flop. Checks around. He took the same line. Check on the flop. Turn is a jack. He had jack. Check, bet, call. The other guy folded. We're going heads up to the river. Check river. He bet. I call. He shows me jack. The last hand I was steaming. I get it in with 9s. He had jacks. I 4-bet 9s. He had jacks. Finish. Bye for the main event. Same guy.
The 4-bet is probably fine too. It's probably good stock. I mean, like, it's
not against that guy is like never ever bluffing in a million years.
Then 4-bet fold. If you think a lot of people have the light 3-bet, but no light 4-bet.
I was shallow at that point. I had like 20-something bigs.
He's jammed.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I would say one more thing, and I don't want to go too far into it because it's kind of a high level concept, but it's one that she would understand. So I want to say one more thing about that hand. She could have donk led turn on the hand when the flush is complete for small, for like 30% pot. And the mechanic behind that, this is actually
flush completing. Like if she was in the blind and it was like a low board, sometimes you have some donk leads.
No, it's because here's the logic of it really quickly. Is that almost you actually hit on it? What hands does she have that are peeling the 3-bet that aren't suited? It's only pocket pairs, right? Maybe ace king
pairs. Yeah, everything else is suited.
It's pocket pairs, but also suited combos, right? So when she calls a bet on the flop, and then the flush completes, his 3-bets pre-flop for value are pocket pairs, ace king and ace queen, which are mostly not suited, right? Like only a quarter of them are suited. And then almost all of his bluffs are offsuit unless he's reaching for things like this, like ace 7 suited, right? But because of that, when she calls the flop bet and the flush completes, she has more flushes than him, right? And she also still has the set advantage, right? So she still has more sets than him because she can have these low sets that he wouldn't have 3-bet those hands pre-flop. So the mechanic of leading is you're filtered, he's not, because he 3-bet pre and he c-bet the flop. He still has an entire range, but we each have called the flop. So we filtered our range. We don't have nothing. We never have nothing, right? And so when the flush card completes, the idea of blocking this hand, block betting like for 30% pot is effectively, and you could do this with ranges face up. The solver does this. That's why it has leads sometimes. And it knows its opponent's strategy.
Why would you lead there? You lead because you don't want to go. You don't want it to go check.
It's an equity. No, it's an equity denial thing. But you want to lead your flushes because when you have a
why
flush,
would you deny equity if you have a flush?
You want to lead the flushes to get value because it goes check. Like especially versus a normal player.
You're not denying equity. You're just going for value because most of his off hands are checked.
Hear me out. When you
go ahead.
When you lead, it's a 2. I'm not saying we only lead our flushes. This is why you need to lead this hand, right? This is why this hand does really good. 7s or 6s would be an even better lead than 9s because they benefit more from the protection they get because the board can come worse for them, right? But the idea is when she leads, she wants to lead with her flushes because especially versus most people, we're not talking the grinder here that 3-bet you pre, they almost always have value pre-flop here, which means they almost always have an overpair, right? So like when they have the overpair and you lead that hand, most people are going to check that back, right? So you're leading to get called by that. And then you're leading your nines to deny equity against overcards that don't have a club. Also, when you lead, his overpairs can't raise you. So when you lead small, right, and you have nines and he has kings without a club or with, they're probably not going to raise you. But let's say he has like red kings, red aces, red jacks. When you lead, they call. You get to realize your equity to drill a 9 or a club and beat them for a good price. So you're like realizing equity yourself, and then you're also folding out the overcards, like the when he has king jack o red and he folds that, that's 6 outs that you just like denied him, right?
Yeah.
Also, you denied him the ability to
again, you gotta factor in that Mizrachi can punish the lead. It's because it's Mizrachi against population.
Then make them do it.
Not anybody can. You can't bunch the average Joe that plays the main again versus
so what
Mizrachi.
I'm saying is,
because I would punish a lead there on the turn.
Okay, then I'm going to make you do it.
Because I can make her life miserable if she leads on the turn. Okay. It's not like, I mean, she can lead on the turn. Theoretically, it's true, but not against Mizrachi because she knows he can play back at her with air.
I think you're falling into the trap that this type of image makes money off of, which is the reason that a guy like that has a lot of success is because people don't put him, they don't deny his equity and they don't put him to tough spots because of the fear that he might put them in a tough spot. It's like if you just practice avoidance because of what this guy might do, he's won before the bat. Like he's winning more by you doing that than by him quote unquote punishing.
Forces people to
make the guy punish you. Like okay, you could do it, do it. Take a7 suited when you're broke because I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure that he was broke before that main event. That's what I heard. I don't want to but like it doesn't matter if he is or not. The money on the line is big to anybody. So it's like you want to punish me here in this spot, then you're going to need to do it in a spot that no matter what your actual financial situation
he's going to do it every time, but there's this element of he could do it. He's capable of doing it. It's not like every time she's going to lead turn, he's going to punish her.
And my argument is that the fact that the fact of being capable of doing something makes you money in the form of people not making you do it. This happens with pros all the time. It's like people are so worried that we're going to bluff that we don't even have to bluff. We can just fucking value bet their faces off because they think we're bluffing.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean?
It's always good to have that reputation than not have that reputation. It's always good to have a reputation that you're capable of bluffs because that's when people make mistakes than not having a reputation that you bluff because you become so easy to play against. Guys, we're at the 3 hour mark. That's pretty sick. Sid, thank you for joining the pod.
Of course, thanks for inviting me. I really appreciate that.
Hey, there was one tip I wanted to give before we wrap about Vegas tips.
Send it.
So if you're going out there playing recreationally and especially in the bracelet events, one really cool superpower now is that app, the World Series app. Being able to look people up and find out and look at their Hendon really quickly and being able to read that Hendon and gauge, are they a pro, are they a rec, is very valuable against Euros. And the reason I say that is like most of the Euros that come over, for every one crusher, there's like 7 or 8 mid-level and lower guys, like friends of theirs that play recreationally or low stakes backed guys like that play online. Even the quote unquote online crushers of them that are playing like a 109 ABI online with like a reasonably good ROI, when they come to Vegas and play, yes, those players are very good, but they're not on average going to have all their weapons because they're playing now 1500s and up. So they're playing so high above their normal ABI and they're playing large fields. They understand, and their backers understand that normally back them online. They understand that this guy on average isn't going to make a final table because he's only playing 45 shells across 35 events. And every time he doesn't run deep, he's going to run up a fuck ton of makeup that now has to be won back online at 109 ABI, 25, 30% ROI, right? So they're not actually going out there and bluffing your face off like you might think they are, because even if they're capable of it, the ramifications of a bad summer and having to spend a year winning that back online is high. The value of this app is you can look it up and not accidentally give, just because this guy's a Euro, give him credit for being aggressive or anything like that, because you can look him up and find out. What you will find out if you look up everybody at every table is you'll find out most of the Euros are just recreational players, and they're just playing tight, and you shouldn't actually, and they 3-bet you, and you think you need to do something about it. You don't, just fold.
Right? It's like, case by case value. Sometimes
right, the app lets you look them up.
Yes, just because somebody has millions in earnings doesn't mean they're gonna 3-bet, 4-bet you, or make your life miserable. Some people have million in earnings. They play GTO, very defensive style. Some people have like 200K in earnings. They're probably a cash crusher, and they're gonna make your life miserable. So just because somebody has, it's case by case. Some people, sometimes there'll be an unknown at the table, and they're just like really hard. Some people are just hard to play against. Yeah. And some people, you see them, they're very passive. They take passive lines, defensive lines. They're not wild, crazy. It's case by case. And I can name some. Actually, I don't want to name names, but yeah, there are some people in Tampa that are like very capable, but they're just like very easy to play against. They think they're tough. They think they're very good players, but they're not like clicking buttons. They're not. Like, if you're not doing like little things, like,
nobody knows Tampa.
Don't betting in certain spots, huh? Say that like Sid was that player. Sid was that guy. Sid was that guy that's gonna make your life miserable. He was fearless. He just likes to get creative. And
he's like, let me try this. Let me see what he does if I do this.
He tries things. It was all trial and error, and he got really good at the end. I mean, too bad he had to go back to India. I think he had a good future in poker for sure, because he loved the game.
We still might see him resurface.
I mean, he was talking about the Vegas grind. We might see him at a poker table in the Horseshoe, sitting across from him. Guys, thank you so much for coming on. David, you're always welcome on the pod, because you're deep in the strategy. So I would like to have you on next time. I'll message you if you ever have time. I mean, June, July, I'm going to tone it down a little bit. I was thinking about filming a little bit of content in Vegas, but I feel like it takes away from results. It's too much to focus. I like to focus just on the grind when in Vegas. So I'm going to tone it down on the pods. But after July, when I kick back, you're more than welcome to come on. Sid, also,
maybe we can have some TV hands one of us played or something to dissect.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I love the fact that the coverage, the ESPN coverage this year, I'm sure we're going to be on TV at some point in time.
I do want to say one thing to that, though, just a caveat.
Sure.
It's very easy to sit here and armchair quarterback when we're the ones watching the tape back. So not taking anything away from Grinder or from Leo at all in that discussion or whatever. It's very easy to see in hindsight.
I don't like when people talk in extreme about hands. She should have done this. She should have done that. We know poker, there's never like one line to take. There's always a bunch of things you can take. Like, people, when they know the result online, I'm not saying you're a crusher, you know what you're talking about, but sometimes you have complete amateurs with, like, again, we're going to go to Hendon Mob. They have like 10K on Hendon Mob, and they're talking about like Kristen Fox, and I always give that example when she played the Kings. She folded Kings.
Man,
like, you're talking about somebody with 20,
I was thinking about the same hand.
You have 10K on Hendon. Like, she achieved so much in the poker world. Don't judge her and over one hand. Like,
also,
we all.
Well, specific to that hand, what I was thinking about was that I don't think it was a bad fold, even though aces weren't out. And I wish you had that hand handy to pull up and I could explain why. But, like, just to explain why, and somebody can watch it back. If anybody doesn't know, Kristen folded Kings at a final table in a Triton.
It was a final table.
100K, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's effectively like this four-way all-in happening where multiple people are putting raises in pre-flop. She doesn't need to have the read that, someone has aces here. I'm like, she's not just folding Kings because of the situation of, I think aces are highly likely to be out. If you look at the way that hand plays out, if I'm sitting there with Kings, I'm like, even when I have the best hand, I'm still going to lose this hand over half the time, right? I'm not saying I would fold aces because it suffers the same issue. It's like, but it's going to win a little over half the time four-way, right? But Kings is like already just, even when it's the best hand, usually not going to win this pot. I'm usually going to bust here. And on top of that, sometimes aces is out. And I'm pretty confident when I'm watching that hand, that's exactly what her logic was not, I'm afraid of aces. Kristen Foxton is not afraid of you having aces. She's one of the best players ever to have done it. And notice I did not say female there. Like, she's one of the best players to have ever
Good
done
one.
it. But like, if she's thinking about it, she's like, I'm making money by folding any 2 cards here, except for aces, right? Like, I'm actually making. She's probably making money folding kings. To be honest with you, like, it's probably actually making dollar.
That's exactly her thought process. That's she made
Right.
she made money, but I mean, she didn't make money in that
So
spot.
she's
She
not
made
making
money.
some bad read that aces are out and I'm folding kings. She's looking at it like the holistic picture is this is going to be a multi-way all in. I might already be beat, but even when I have the best hand, I'm going to lose probably 60-something% of the time.
Right. Guys, thank you for coming on. This is a
All
wrap.
Thanks for having Carl. Good
Here.
luck. Good luck.
Sid, it's been
Carl.
great talking to you again. Haven't seen your face in a while.
See you
Likewise.
boys
Good
in
luck.
Vegas, I guess.
Good luck for the World Series.
All right, guys. I'll see you in Vegas, Carl.
For sure. Yeah, I'll be there.
See you out
Let's
there.
have a
man.
drink.
Have a drink, have a meal, something. We'll be out there all summers.
I'm down. I'm down. All right,
Later.
guys.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Of course.
All right. Have a good
All
one.
right. See ya.